Holding the ring box and getting down on one knee, the man gently called out to Rebecca, then slowly opened the diamond ring box. Then with a faint smile he confessed, "Will you agree to become my most beautiful masterpiece?" Moved by his question, the girl softly replied, "Zephyrine, yes, even if I were to be reborn countless times, I would still choose to become your wife." Believing it was love, I accepted his proposal that day, and from that moment on, I became one of the 10 works of art Zephyrine collected. After helping Rebecca put on the necklace, Zephyrine placed both his hands on her shoulders and praised her with a smirk. "Rebecca, you are truly beautiful. I knew it would suit you. How about this one?" "I can't choose because everything suits you perfectly." She suddenly felt a bit hesitant and asked in a low voice, Zephyrine, I've been invited to a party. Is it okay if I go?" he asked sharply. "A party?" Rebecca broke into a cold sweat and lowered her head, explaining in a small voice, "Ever since our wedding, it's been very hard for me to see my friends. I really want to see them again." Hearing this, Zephyrine scowled irritably and refused. "Absolutely not. Have you forgotten? You are only allowed to attend parties that I approve of." Hearing him say that, she immediately retorted, "But you only approve if you go with me, and even when I do attend." "You don't let me say a single word," he snapped, cutting her off. "That's enough. Not another word. What are you doing? Bring me the next item, now." Although she was deeply resentful, Rebecca could only swallow her feelings, frowning as she swallowed her anger. "After our wedding, Zephyrine isolated me so I couldn't see anyone. He made me live like a beautifully dressed doll, for his eyes only. Then one day, the doctor announced gravely, 'It appears you are pregnant.'" Rebecca asked in alarm, her brow furrowed. "Pregnant?" In that moment I realized, if this child were born, they would end up just like me, placed in his display case. I can't let my child live like a doll, soulless. And so, for the first time in my life, I worked with my own 2 hands. My hands grew rough, and my face began to lose its beauty, but I was so happy. For the first time in a long time, I felt free, and I had a future with my child. But a tragedy came and shattered my happiness. On one fateful night, someone suddenly lit a candle beside Rebecca's bed, then gently touched her cheek and said, "Rebecca, I know you're awake." Hearing the familiar voice, she immediately shot up in bed and called out in shock, "Zephyrine." He suddenly leaned forward and remarked with a sneer, "How naive! Did you really think I couldn't find you? At last, our masterpiece is born." As soon as Rebecca heard Zephyrine say that, she immediately turned her head toward the cradle and shouted in a panic, "Zephyrine, where is Psyche?" Waving his hand dismissively, he answered with a smirk, "Don't worry. Did you think I would harm my own flesh and blood? I simply couldn't leave my work of art in a dump like this." With that, he suddenly narrowed his eyes and stared at her, then unexpectedly reached out and gripped her chin tightly. Then he loudly scolded her, thinking about how she had already begun to wither, but Rebecca didn't respond. She just bluntly shoved his hand away, then ran to find her child, calling out, "Psyche, Psyche, where are you?" "Psyche, my child!" The girl had dusty pink hair. Holding Psyche in her arms, she called out in surprise, "Lady Rebecca." Rebecca's eyes widened as she replied in shock, "Alicia? Why are you holding Psyche? It was you, wasn't it? So you're the one who betrayed me, Alicia. I trusted you." Alicia hurriedly tried to explain, "Lady Rebecca, I had no other choice." Rebecca roared in fury, "Shut up! Give Psyche to me now!" Just as she was about to lunge forward to grab Psyche, Zephyrine suddenly stepped forward, grabbed her by the hair, and said with an irritated sneer, "Not so fast." Then he shoved her to the ground, causing her to scream in pain. "Ah!" he callously remarked in a loud voice. "It's clear the lady has lost her mind, but that's all right. I have already found a replacement for you. I'm leaving now. I still have to attend the Duke's funeral." Rebecca quickly got up and screamed, "Stop right there! Give Psyche back!" Seeing this, Zephyrine shoved her away and growled, "Get out of my sight!" She didn't respond, instead aiming for his hand and biting down hard. He was completely taken by surprise, and his face paled from the pain as he hastily yanked his hand back. Then, clutching his bleeding arm, he roared in fury, "How dare you? You dare leave a mark on me?" But Rebecca didn't reply. Instead, she quickly wiped his filthy blood from her mouth and angrily turned away. Zephyrine turned his head back to warn her, "Out of respect for the time we spent together, I was going to spare your life. Rebecca, you brought this upon yourself." With that, he quickly bolted the door. She pounded on the door, calling out in a panic, "Zephyrine, open the door now." Zephyrine growled, "Rebecca, you were once my most beautiful doll. But I think it's time for you to be discarded. I've already taken everything I wanted from you." Coughing, Rebecca thought in anguish, "I thought I had finally escaped, but in the end, I still couldn't escape Zephyrine. If only I could go back just one time, then I wouldn't fail." When Rebecca opened her eyes again, a maid was suddenly before her, asking a question. "My lady, are you all right? It seems you're in a bit of a mood today." Rebecca silently wondered, "Alicia, Why is she here? Alicia gently suggested. If it were to rain and ruin everything, that wouldn't be good. Then, she thought in disbelief. But she was dealt with by Zephyrine a long time ago. Could this be heaven? As Alicia stepped forward, she gave a small, reassuring smile. It will hurt a little, but if you can just endure it for today, everything will be fine. Hearing this, Rebecca couldn't help but wonder to herself, today? What is today? With that, Alicia immediately threw open the doors in front of her, revealing a lake with a dining table decorated with fresh flowers. Seeing this, Rebecca was completely overwhelmed, thinking to herself, this isn't heaven, it's hell. While the band played and the guests clapped cheerfully in celebration, Rebecca stood frozen in place, thinking, I've returned to the past I prayed so desperately to return to, the day everything was destroyed, the wedding day of my husband and his second wife. It was a beautiful and incredibly romantic wedding, but what a shame that she was my husband's second wife. The priest declared loudly, and now, under the blessing of the goddess Defrea, I pronounce you husband and wife. Walking arm in arm, Zephyrine and Alicia cheerfully waved to everyone. Amidst the congratulatory applause of the guests, just as he passed by Rebecca, he turned his head slightly to shoot her a sidelong glance. Seeing this, she showed no emotion and coldly met his gaze, which made Zephyrine suddenly smirk and order, smile, which stunned her for a moment as her eyes widened in thought. Seeing the expression on his face makes it all feel so real now. Then, she recalled the words he had once said to her, Rebecca, you're so beautiful. I knew it would look good on you. No, have you forgotten you can only attend parties with my permission? Then, she felt a surge of joy, thinking, I've really gone back in time. The first time I met Alicia was when I was taking a walk down a familiar path. I couldn't just ignore her when I saw what a wretched state she was in. So, I brought her home and took care of her with all my heart. Alicia had smiled brightly, declaring, Lady Rebecca, you're my savior. When Alicia recovered, she was so lovely that she could capture anyone's heart, and I was no exception. Lonely after leaving my friends behind for marriage, I made her my personal handmaiden. Thanks to Alicia's gentle companionship, I wasn't lonely anymore, but that peace lasted for less than a year. We were peacefully having a meal to celebrate Alicia's birthday when I don't know what suddenly got into her. She suddenly dropped her fork and cried out, trembling, Lady Rebecca, I can't eat. She was pregnant. The woman I had trusted and cherished was carrying my husband's child. An enraged Rebecca loudly confronted him. Zephyrine, of all people, why did you have to get involved with Alicia? He just smirked nonchalantly and replied, my naive wife, when two beautiful people meet, did you really think nothing would happen? It's not my fault, and it's not Alicia's fault. It's your fault for letting such a beautiful girl come into my sight. Clenching her fists, Rebecca asked, trembling with rage, Then what are you going to do about her? Zephyrine calmly stroked his chin and retorted, Isn't it obvious? You know, in over 15 years, you and I haven't had a single child. As the memory ended, Rebecca continued her somber thoughts, and just like that, Alicia became Zephyrine's second wife. At the time, I thought it was all my fault, but now it's clear. Now I realize that I was not to blame for any of this. That night, Rebecca slammed her fist against the window pane, letting out a loud, Then she furiously furrowed her brow, thinking, that horrible wedding is exactly as I remember it. I've truly returned to the past. My precious child, Psyche, this is before you were even born. The memories of the 9 months and 10 days I cherished my child in my womb are still so vivid. Though it was brief, I still clearly remember our happy moments together, your soft, chubby cheeks, your tiny hands waving hello, and the final moment was, No, this is for the best. From now on, my child won't have to live under Zephyrine's control. I don't know why I was able to return to the past, but one thing is for certain. Zephyrine, it's your turn to pay the price. I will change my own fate. While the carriage Rebecca was in moved steadily forward, a young man happened to be there. Judging by his attire, he was likely a nobleman, slowly approaching to get a better look at the person inside the carriage. He was surprised to see Rebecca quietly crying, as if something frustrating and unhappy had happened to her. He softly called out to Leo as a cat suddenly approached, causing him to turn his head. He then picked Leo up and placed him on his shoulder. The cat suddenly asked with a grin, Are you interested in that woman, my lord? He replied in a serious tone, No, it's just that I always thought of her as a soulless doll. But I've never seen her make an expression like that before. Leo asked bluntly, Aren't you suspicious of her? He broke out in a sweat, stunned, and asked, What did you say? Hey, didn't I tell you to stop reading my mind? Leo suddenly leaped to the ground and answered nonchalantly, I didn't mean to. You're just too easy to read. He suddenly asked with some confusion. The important thing is, the Count always controls his wife, so why is she out by herself? Croa, his red-haired attendant, immediately replied, Yes, my lord. He asked bluntly, What is Count Devansai doing in my territory? the attendant replied. Ah, you probably don't know yet since you've just returned from the war. Count Devonsai just married his second wife. The wedding was held today at Valeria Beach. He asked in shock. What? Are you telling me he had the audacity to hold a wedding with a mistress right in my territory? And in my favorite territory of all places? Right. Throw those scoundrels out and make sure they never dare to show their faces here ever again. I want it done by tomorrow. Is that clear? Croa answered in a panic. Yes, I'll handle everything at once. At the Grand Devonsai mansion, footsteps in high heels echoed slowly. Rebecca was lost in thought. Now that I'm back at the Devonsai estate, what was I doing at this point in time? As the Countess, I had absolutely no authority in this mansion. Zephyrine never even entrusted me with the duties meant for the mistress of the family. Sigh, Zephyrine said with a wicked smile. Duties for the Countess? You just need to exist like a flower, my dear. I'll take care of all the complicated issues. Rebecca's eyes turned sharp. In this place I was nothing more than a perfect doll, and this was the Castle of Light, Zephyrines' most beloved place. The Devonsai family was renowned for its profound love of art. Through many generations, they had successfully collected countless priceless artworks, even constructing entire buildings, equipped with temperature and humidity control systems for their preservation. The Devonsai family's passion for art was a fanatical obsession. What if I destroyed this place? I wonder what kind of face Zephyrine would make. It would be so satisfying if I could. But with security this tight, destroying them is impossible, and right now I don't have any power. If I had a family to back me up, I would have divorced him long ago. But my family, the House of Viscount Obelia, went bankrupt right after I got married, and to survive, my entire family has to depend on the Devonsai family. If I had power, I could have stopped Alicia from becoming a concubine. Just then, someone opened a parasol to shield her from the sun. Beside her, the maid said with great concern, "The sun is very strong today. Please be careful not to get a sunburn, my lady." Rebecca immediately looked at her and replied, "Thank you, Alicia. Alicia, she's the only one in this wretched mansion who truly cares about me. In my past life, on the day Alicia gave birth to her second child, she took me to the village festival to cheer me up. Thanks to her, I was able to enjoy those rare moments of happiness, but the price was far too high." Zephyrine took out a whip, and gritting his teeth in anger, he yelled, "How dare you sneak out?" He didn't even listen to my pleas. "Zephyrine, please, I was wrong." And then, right before my eyes, she was beaten to death. I owe Alicia a debt that I can never repay. Back in the present, she tilted her head to look at the person before her. "Alicia, this is a bit sudden, but do you have any wishes? If it's something I can grant, I'll make it happen for you." Hearing this, Alicia was a bit surprised. "A wish? My only wish is to continue living peaceful days like this with you, my lady." However, Rebecca pressed her for a sincere answer. "Don't be shy, just tell me honestly. Would you like some jewelry or perhaps a raise in your salary?" Alicia was completely taken aback by this. "My lady, I truly don't need anything at all. Yes, my only wish is to stay by your side forever." Hearing this, Rebecca's cheeks flushed as she became extremely emotional. "Alicia, I'm so happy I was able to come back to a time when you're still alive. Thank you. Just as I thought, there's no one else but you, Alicia. Now then, let's go inside." Walking beside her while holding the parasol, Alicia replied in a gentle tone, "Yes, my lady." The two of them walked slowly down the long hallway together. Rebecca walked on in silence. Up ahead, on the third floor, were Zephyrines' bedroom and office. Zephyrine forbids anyone from approaching the third floor. From that highest point, he wants to look down on everyone and keep them under his thumb. The third floor holds his bedroom and his office. No one is allowed to go up there, and that no one includes me. His study is always locked tight, and it surely contains all the documents related to the Devonsai family. His weakness might be hidden in that place. As Rebecca took a step up the stairs, a guard quickly put out an arm to stop her. "This is a restricted area, my lady." But Rebecca paid him no mind, turning to leave. "I know." Seeing this, Alicia could only watch in silence. After a moment, she slowly called out, "My lady, would you like to go see the study?" This took Rebecca by surprise. "What?" Alicia didn't hesitate to ask. "You were looking up at the third floor staircase just now, weren't you? Please, let me help you. If we sneak in just like we did for the village festival, no one will ever find out. Let's go, my lady." But hearing this made Rebecca terrified. "That's not okay. What if you get punished for this?" So Alicia tried to persuade her once more. "But the Count hasn't returned yet because he's on his honeymoon, and the guards have let their guard down. This is our chance. Only Han is standing guard on the third floor. I'll lure him to the kitchen, and while I'm doing that, you can go to the study. The Count isn't here, so you're feeling lonely and want to read a book, right? Just leave it all to me." Hearing this, Rebecca was lost in thought. Alicia is right. When will I ever get a chance like this again? Meanwhile, the secret door opened, and Rebecca, holding a candle, gently closed it behind her. Letting out a sigh of relief, she looked at the large room before her. "Thanks to Alicia, I managed to get into the study. I never set foot in here in my past life, I have to find something to hold over Zephyrine head. Rebecca slowly grabbed the handle and pulled a drawer open. She saw a pile of papers inside, documents. This family name looked so familiar. Rebecca slowly flipped through a few pages. When she saw the words the Obelia family, Rebecca was completely stunned. Isn't this my family's name? 202-20805. Acquisition of the Obelia territory. 202-30123. Obelia family business shut down. 202-30507. Additional debt for the House of Obelia. These documents record everything Zephyrine did to influence the Obelia family's business before he proposed to me. It's true the Obelia family wasn't prestigious, but there's no way we would have collapsed completely overnight. Next was a series of documents, including pledges from my friends. I, Diana Zurian, promise that, under no circumstances will I meet with Rebecca Devonside. I, Leonie Lees, promise that under any circumstances, I will not meet with Rebecca Devonside. She was utterly confused. Diana, Leonie, did they abandon me because Zephyrine was blackmailing them? An image of Zephyrine holding a teacup flashed in her mind, his voice casual. My father-in-law is begging me for money again. How long does he plan to depend on me? In any case, Rebecca, since you're so obedient, you can put up with this. Hey, did your friends refuse to see you? It seems they've gotten tired of you. I told you they would, didn't I? You must be very sad. But don't worry, I'm here now, you only have me left. Reading this, Rebecca's entire body trembled uncontrollably. So the real purpose behind his words was to bind my entire life to him, but even people who had nothing to do with me had to suffer because of him. Rebecca was completely devastated, falling to her knees and screaming, "No, Zephyrine, you bastard!" At that very moment, Zephyrine rushed in and threw the door open. He asked with extreme anger, "What are you doing in here, my lady?" A deep, intense hatred welled up in Rebecca's eyes as she crumpled the paper that had fallen to the floor. Trembling all over, she asked, "Zephyrine Devonside, what have you done to me?" As she spoke, countless other papers immediately fell at his feet, while Zephyrine brow furrowed in a serious expression. "That's dangerous. What if the paper cuts your face?" "Yes. It seems you've seen everything. It's nothing serious." Hearing this, the corners of Rebecca's mouth trembled with indignation. "Nothing serious? You destroyed my family and threatened my friends. And that's not serious?" Then, Zephyrine suddenly picked up a piece of paper and smirked. "Rebecca, you need to be more accurate. I did all of this for you, anyway. Those friends weren't people you should have been associating with. You should have friends on your own level. And as for destroying your family, that's a bit unfair, don't you think?" After saying that, he unhurriedly wrapped his arm around her waist. Zephyrine brought his face close to hers and continued, "Would I ever treat you, the person I cherish most, in such a way? I helped your father, don't you remember? I was the one who lent him the money when he was in trouble." The moment he finished, Rebecca couldn't help but scream in a panic. "Let me go!" Haunting scenes from her past life quickly flashed through her mind. I was so easily fooled by those words, but now, after reading the documents, I finally realize how he destroyed our family. He hired a con artist to approach my father, who then invested in the scam and lost a huge amount of money. Around that time, Zephyrine appeared like a savior, lending my father money with no strings attached. And then, my father, in an attempt to recoup his losses, invested in another fraudulent business set up by Zephyrine. And so, the debt piled higher and higher, until the Obelia family was trapped beyond escape. I can't say my father was completely innocent, but that man deliberately deceived us. Just then, Zephyrine gently stroked Rebecca's face and spoke softly. "I understand you're rebelling because I took a second wife, but you should behave yourself, or Alicia will be dealt with." Upon hearing this, Rebecca's eyes filled with fear. "He knows my weakness." Then, Zephyrine used that same deadly sweet tone. "Now, answer me, my beloved wife." Rebecca couldn't resist. Her fists clenched until they trembled. "I understand." The moment she spoke, Zephyrine placed a kiss on her forehead. "Good girl. Just this once, I'll generously overlook it." Perhaps it was the shock from the documents, but I was sick for several days. From the following day, Rebecca lay in bed, her eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. A woman sitting by her bed noticed and asked, "Are you awake?" Rebecca slowly glanced over at her, calling out, "Alicia?" Then, she slowly sat up. "Have you been taking care of me? Why is she back at the mansion?" At her question, Alicia put on a gentle expression and replied, "Yes, Lady Rebecca, I was so worried, thinking something terrible had happened to you." Rebecca fell silent at this display of warmth. In my past life, I could never bring myself to hate Alicia, but I never knew that behind that smile were such disgusting desires. That sickeningly sweet smile, because of it, in my past life, I fell for Alicia's schemes time and time again, starting with the jewelry and dresses. Then, she got rid of all my people, and finally, even my husband. She took everything from me. When I escaped the Count's estate, if Alicia hadn't secretly opened the gate for me, I never would have gotten away. That's why I thought that, in her own way, Alicia actually cared about me. But in truth, She only helped me because she wanted the position of the first wife. Alicia stayed silent, continuing to watch Rebecca's expression. After a moment, she dug her fingertips slightly into her knees. Lady Rebecca, you hate me, don't you? And just like that, a thought rose in Rebecca's mind. Am I supposed to feel love? It's hatred, even now. The scene of her holding Psyche at the end of his life is still clear in my mind. A moment later, she answered with a gentle smile. Of course not, why would I hate Alicia? But Alicia questioned her doubtfully. Look, you're speaking so formally to me again. You weren't like this before. Do you hate me because I stole the count from you? Lady Rebecca, I couldn't do anything else. Lady Rebecca, I really couldn't do anything. How could a powerless maid refuse the count? As soon as she finished, Rebecca's voice suddenly grew harsh, making the other woman freeze. That's enough out of you. That's why I already gave you another choice, right? The day I found out Alicia was pregnant, I told her to run away. I even offered to buy to her a house and give her enough money to live on for the rest of her life. Rebecca took the other woman's hand affectionately. Alicia, I'm saying all of this for your own good. You've seen everything he did to me. Zephyrine will do the same to you. However, Alicia coldly snatched her hand away from the woman in front of her. Lady Rebecca, I'm sorry, but I'm an adult too. Please don't treat me like a child. I will make my own decisions about my child and my life. At this, Rebecca's brows furrowed as she asked, Have you forgotten? This was your choice, as you said. You're an adult, so take responsibility for your choice. As Alicia looked down and stammered, Well, that's... Rebecca didn't seem to want to hear any more. Let's just end this conversation here. Yes, with the current situation, being openly hostile won't do any good, and my husband wouldn't like it either. Hearing this, Alicia could only reply yes. Meanwhile, Rebecca lowered her eyes slightly to glance at the woman before her. Fine, if you're still going to be blinded by greed, thank you for taking care of me anyway. I want to give you a gift to thank you. A box of precious jewelry was opened, and then Rebecca cheerfully invited Alicia. Pick one. This left her completely astonished. Really? Alicia's eyes widened as she stared at it, slowly reaching for a jeweled necklace. Oh my god, it's so beautiful! But Rebecca quickly snatched it away, explaining, Oh my, why is this in here? This is an heirloom that Zephyrine gave me, so I can't give it away. Would you like to choose something else instead? Immediately, Alicia put on an earnest expression. An heirloom. So, can I get one too? Hearing this, Rebecca hesitated slightly before replying, Well, that's only possible for the Countess. I don't know if a second wife can receive one. Know your place and learn not to covet what you can't have. Suddenly, Zephyrine unexpectedly walked over and asked, Rebecca, are you with Alicia? It's a relief there are no scars, but your skin looks terrible. It's quite worrying. I'll have to tell someone to prepare your skin for the upcoming victory banquet. As he finished, Rebecca was a little puzzled. A victory banquet? On the other side, Alicia quickly grew excited. A banquet means a party, right? This will be my first time attending a party like this, so I'll need a dress. What should I wear to look pretty? However, Zephyrine placed a hand on his forehead sarcastically. How absurd. Alicia, you don't need to attend the banquet, which made Alicia tremble. What do you mean? Zephyrine then slowly explained. It's hosted by the Emperor. There's no way you can attend. You're just a commoner, so don't make that face. Instead, I'll give you any jewelry you like. Just play with those and stay home quietly. Hearing this, Alicia reluctantly demanded, Then give me an heirloom too. Zephyrine was stunned. The heirloom is in the back. Rebecca quickly picked up the necklace and answered, I just told Alicia to pick something as a thank you for taking care of me, but by mistake, I showed her the heirloom. The moment she finished speaking, Zephyrine gently touched Alicia's forehead. This is for the Countess, which means only the first wife, Rebecca, can have it. These words made Alicia unable to hold back her anger. Why am I also a countess? We even had a proper wedding. But Zephyrine remained calm. Let's go outside and talk, while Alicia kept screaming, Let me go. Suddenly, Rebecca spoke up again. Wait, I have something to ask. By the way, you two, why did you come back so early from your honeymoon? Zephyrine and Alicia went on a 1-week honeymoon, but unlike in my past life, they came back way too soon this time. Instantly, Alicia turned away in a huff. Why, you ask? Because this noble count here sold a villa to the Duke for the price of just a few paintings. This made him coldly remind Alicia, What's with that insolent tone? Get out right now. Meanwhile, Rebecca stood still. She began to ponder. The Duke, Duke Johann, and this royal banquet. I will attend with genuine pleasure. Rebecca, wearing a beautiful dress, walked towards him. Zephyrine, seeing her, quickly stood up. Rebecca, you look so beautiful. She was as cheerful as a garden of fresh blue roses, thank you. Facing Rebecca, Zephyrine had only one thought. Seeing you like this reminds me of my 17th birthday, 17 years ago in the winter. At the brightly lit mansion, he slowly stepped out of the warm room, under the cold, snowy night sky. Zephyrine leaned listlessly against the balcony. So boring. A boisterous sound from afar caught his attention. On the small path, a few young ladies were playing with each other. "Rebecca, come here." She slowly backed away. Diana started it. In the moment, Rebecca beamed with a bright smile. She was like the brilliant sun melting the ice. Zephyrine was so captivated that he couldn't take his eyes off Rebecca. She felt a gaze following her, and looked up to see, just in time to catch him observing the scene below. At that moment, Zephyrine was dazed. His gaze became intense, and Rebecca also looked at him intently. Letting the wind blow through her hair, she gave a warm, gentle smile. From that moment on, Zephyrine life changed. That day, something in my dull life changed. His hand on the railing slowly tightened. If I marry her. A constant excitement welled up inside Zephyrine. I wonder what our children would be like. For the first time, I had a purpose of my own. But even though there was a great distance between us, he also realized that beauty is the meaning of life, which is why the beautiful Rebecca will be the perfect doll to build my empire. Back in the present, there was one problem that made Zephyrine frown in annoyance. Rebecca was smarter and more stubborn than I thought, which was the opposite of her current personality. But now, she was a woman who only had eyes for me and was completely dependent on me. Spending 15 years to isolate her from the outside world was worth it. He secretly glanced towards Alicia, hiding behind the door, and now I've brought the young and beautiful Alicia here too, so you can compare yourself to her and work on your appearance. Then Zephyrine reached out his hand. As long as you maintain that beauty and continue to be obedient, you will be perfect, Rebecca. Let's get in the carriage, and when you give birth to a child who looks just like me. He was extremely pleased with his plan. The perfect empire I've built will finally be complete. At a lavish mansion in the Duchy of Gahan, Julian Johann held a piece of paper and called out, "Croa." He annoyedly let the paper drop. "Aren't there any useful stories?" The young man listlessly reported the situation. "The storytellers smelled money and have been flocking here in droves, so it'll take us a few more days. To weed out the amateurs, sir." Then Croa waved to the maids. "By the way, you need to get changed, sir. The guest of honor can't be absent from the victory celebration." Julian Johann stroked Leo, who was lying in his lap, and rested his chin on his hand in boredom. "If I knew it was going to be like this, I wouldn't have gone to war," he calmly retorted. "Then who was it that insisted on going, grumbling about it all day long, sir?" Hearing that, he grew even more irritated. "It was a war in name only. They surrendered the moment I drew my sword. It's obvious the Emperor set it all up from the beginning." Which was weird enough. Who even has a skirmish during peacetime like this? But Croa persisted in trying to persuade Julian Johann. "So what? Please, sir, just attend this one time. Consider it a favor for all our efforts. You'll be in big trouble if you keep testing the Emperor's patience, sir." He gently petted Leo. "Big trouble? What kind of trouble?" The cat arrogantly cracked open one eye to look. Julian Johann just scoffed, his eyes glinting with ambition. "As long as that damn goddess continues to protect our family, the Emperor won't be able to touch a single thing." The Duchy of Grand Duke Johann was blessed by the goddess Zephyrine. This divine blessing was akin to a protection over the family. He frowned slightly, his eyes filled with a cold darkness. But in reality, it's a curse. Long ago, an ancestor of the Johann family, who received a revelation from the goddess, allied with the rebels in a civil war and stood at the vanguard. The goddess backed the warrior as he went into battle. The new emperor, who was victorious under divine protection, ascended the throne and bestowed the title of Duke upon Johann, the one with the greatest merit. He smiled radiantly. "It is all thanks to our guardian goddess." And just like that, in this prosperous kingdom, shrines to the goddess Zephyrine were built throughout the kingdom, and cats, which were once considered bad luck. It had become the sacred animal of the goddess Zephyrine and a symbol of good fortune, but perhaps the price for enjoying that endless wealth and glory had come. The descendants of the Johann family gradually lost their reverence for the goddess, even committing depraved acts right inside her main temple. They reveled in the sacred place without any restraint. But those actions enraged the goddess. Provoked, she cast down a curse. "Instead of blessings, you will pay the price for scorning the privileges I have bestowed. Your descendants shall serve and care for my descendants for all eternity." Since then, the Johann bloodline has been bound, their souls to the cat brought by the goddess, forced to share both pain and emotions. That curse even took their lives. The two could not be separated once the cat's shadow fell upon the hand of a Johann family member. The cat sent by the goddess lived off the spiritual power of the family heirs, and once that power was depleted, each one would die young. In their desperation, the ducal family married off their children at a very young age for the sake of continuing the bloodline. And so, the marriages continued. If the first wife could not bear a child quickly, they would simply bring in a new one, and Julian Johann was no exception. As a child, his father placed great expectations on him. Kneeling down to his level, he told him, "You were born with the strongest spiritual power, stronger than any of our previous heirs. Therefore, you must produce many more heirs, so that when one dies, we can continue to protect the goddess's sacred animal." As his father spoke these stern words, A disgusted Julian Johann pushed his hand away and firmly refused. Are you telling me I have to keep dragging innocent women into this curse? I will not do it! But his father didn't let go, instead gripping his shoulder even tighter. You may resist now, but you will understand. Then, he added coldly, that you cannot escape this curse. At that, Julian Johann's eyes widened in shock, unable to believe what he was hearing. Even his mother, frail on her deathbed, had not forgotten to warn him, Julian Johann, you must never fall in love with anyone. While standing by her gravestone, his father called out, Julian Johann. He led a woman before him. Say hello. This is your new mother. Back in the present, Julian Johann had changed his clothes. To marry as soon as possible. His own will felt as meaningless as a piece of paper in the wind. How absurd. He walked toward the waiting carriage. I will never submit to this damn fate. However, Julian Johann knew one thing for certain. If he didn't produce an heir, that child's life would be just like every other Johann's. Lily's child would be the one to bear this curse. Julian Johann clenched his fist in frustration. There had to be a way. He strode decisively toward the light, determined to end this curse for good. Meanwhile, in the grand hall where the party was being held, nobles were milling about and chatting with one another. Rebecca entered the banquet hall on Zephyrine arm. She glanced around, wondering, he's still not here? Just then, Rebecca noticed someone entering through the door, and it was none other than Julian Johann. A loud voice announced the entrance of Duke Julian Johann, and his image, seared into her mind, left Rebecca utterly stunned. An authoritative voice rang out, causing Julian Johann to turn his head. You have done well in this war, Duke Johann. He cautiously accepted the king's words. Thank you, your majesty. Then he turned to his daughter, Catherine. Surely this is the first time you've met her? Princess Catherine. She smiled as gently as a soft, delicate flower. Julian Johann immediately understood his intentions and scoffed in disgust. That foolish old man, his intentions are all too obvious. This place also had a religion that served as a cornerstone of power, passed down through many generations over many years. The Rotandus Empire was so deeply intertwined with the church that it was beyond repair. Most of the high nobility belonged to the papal faction, and the people's faith lay entirely with the church. Even the policies of the state council were considered mere drafts, until a cardinal or the pope approved them. With his current cunning demeanor, unlike his ancestors, the current emperor was trying to promote royal authority. This could be seen through his scheme to use him, Duke Julian Johann. The current head of the family was nothing more than a juicy piece of prey in his mind. A lecherous man with depraved and filthy tastes, but to do this even with his own daughter? He took Catherine's hand and approached warmly. Was he planning to marry her off to me despite the rumors spreading through society? Looking at the soft hand offered to him, Julian Johann remained silent, sighing with a heart full of thoughts. Well now, will you have the first dance with the beautiful princess? When it comes to keeping the sanctuary in check, there is no better ally than the emperor. Julian Johann calmly took her hand and asked politely, will you grant me the honor of the first dance, princess? Seeing his action, the king smiled faintly with satisfaction as melodious music began to play, and the party's fountain flowed continuously. If I marry a princess, not even the sanctuary will dare to force another wife on me. And so, Julian Johann and Catherine began to dance to the gentle music. But seeing her vibrant face, he was reminded of his mother's haggard appearance. I can't drag a woman, an innocent woman, into this just to make her suffer like my mother did. Meanwhile, Rebecca was also dancing with Zephyrine. Her eyes grew distant. Rebecca's attention was completely focused on the couple, Julian Johann and Catherine. Not far away, a hand suddenly lifted her face, leaving Rebecca completely startled. He held her face towards his. Look at me, Rebecca. She quickly made a half-hearted excuse. I'm sorry, I'm feeling a little dizzy. Zephyrine calmly replied, in places like this, you must control yourself better. Everyone needs to see that you belong only to me. Outwardly, Rebecca smiled gently. Yes, but in her heart, she was cursing him for being disgusting. Shortly after, Zephyrine led Rebecca to another place. Stay put right here. She stood in a corner, dejected, thinking she would have to watch from the sidelines again, as he blended into the crowd and began to mingle with the other nobles. Rebecca knew this, but at least it gave her an opportunity. After the dance, Julian Johann took a glass of wine and moved elsewhere, leaning against a pillar to relax. She spoke from behind the pillar, asking, I don't see the cats today, do I? Hearing that, he paused his drinking. Julian Johann, suspicious, was about to turn and find the owner of the voice. Who would have thought someone would follow him all the way here? Just as he was about to leave, she quickly said, Leo, the cat who shares your soul. The others are just decoys to cover for him, aren't they? However, Julian Johann stopped in his tracks and turned to retort. Absurd. But Rebecca reminded him, Stop. Don't make it obvious that you're talking to me. I'm being watched. Hearing this, Julian Johann quickly noticed the servant who was following her movements. He was quite curious about Rebecca's identity and asked in a low voice, Who are you? She didn't answer, instead saying softly, I'll get straight to the point. Her next words stunned him. I know how to break the Duke's curse. Then, he regained his composure and retorted, a curse? How dare you say such absurd things about a family blessed by the goddess? She replied calmly, I know everything. If the cat your soul is connected to dies, you will die too. And you are gathering storytellers to break a curse that has been passed down for generations. After that, Julian Johann slowly savored his glass of wine. I wasn't aware of this. Who sent her? The Emperor or Latin? Just then, she said something that shook him. His gaze grew serious. Then how about this? Because the Duke is infamous for being a pervert, who has promiscuous relationships with women he can't actually touch, you hide it behind rumors. But the truth is, you're still pure, aren't you? Of course, that's normal for someone who has never wanted an heir. Julian Johann wiped the wine from the corner of his mouth. She even knows that. But Rebecca calmly added, this time, the opportunity you've always longed for, you won't let it slip by, will you? He got straight to the point. What do you want? She then made a proposal. I'll tell you if you dance with me. When Julian Johann asked again in surprise, Rebecca casually added a condition, but it has to be when everyone is watching. You must ask me to dance in front of the Emperor. With that, she left, leaving him startled in surprise. Watching her shimmering golden hair fly through the air, Julian Johann hurriedly tried to stop her. Wait, your name? She walked away confidently, leaving behind a name. Rebecca. He stared blankly at her retreating back. Rebecca glanced back, flashing her most beautiful, radiant smile. I'll be waiting. Zephyrine quickly came to get her. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, Duke. Leonis just wouldn't stop bothering me. He felt a persistent gaze on them, and when he looked up, he saw Julian Johann. Zephyrine's possessiveness flared up, and he commented sarcastically, how rude, staring at another man's wife like that. He lowered his hand and stated nonchalantly, my apologies, Count. Your presence was so insignificant that I didn't even notice you. He angrily pressed his lips together, cursing inwardly, Julian Johann, you bastard. Even from the very first time we met, he had the nerve to talk to me like that. Years ago, when Zephyrine offered a handshake in greeting, he showed his disgust and slapped his hand away. Get lost, you're disgusting. But back then, to Zephyrine, Julian Johann was just an arrogant jerk who loathed those of a lower status, with an aggressive attitude as if he were the center of the universe. I hated that. But, remembering his paintings, I had to admit one thing. As irritating as it was, I had to admit he was quite handsome. However, Jeffrey also had something to be proud of, wrapping his arm around her waist. But Rebecca is mine. I will take my wife with me. Jeffrey triumphantly led her away, not forgetting to glance back provocatively. Rebecca is my most perfect masterpiece. Someone like him could never have her. Meanwhile, he was left standing alone in a corner. A young lady admired his feelings for her. Oh my, look at how the Count guards his wife. But the lady beside her disagreed. What is so good about that? In reality, she is a prisoner in that mansion. A nobleman from behind agreed. That is true. After all, she is the most beautiful woman in the empire. If she were mine, I would lock her up too, and never let anyone else see her. Suddenly, Julian strode forward, and this action directly caused everyone to become confused. Everyone fell silent, leaving only the sound of his firm footsteps, echoing in the somber atmosphere, which also drew the attention of the king and Catherine as they heard the footsteps approaching. Zephyrine turned back suspiciously to look at him, questioning bluntly, is there something else you want to say, Sir Julian Johann? With the condescending air of a superior, he looked down and said, to you. No, I mean to her. Finishing his words, he immediately extended a hand toward Rebecca. He calmly offered the invitation. Rebecca, may I have the honor of this dance? After hearing Julian Johann's invitation, every single person was endlessly surprised. Rebecca was stunned, still in disbelief. Before my regression, I had almost never crossed paths with him, so I had no idea that even when I suddenly proposed a deal, he could maintain such a calm demeanor. He is truly no ordinary person. He smiled smugly. Zephyrine, displeased, placed a hand on her shoulder as a reminder. Refuse him, Rebecca, he is not worth your time. Suddenly, a hearty laugh rang out, and it was none other than the king. But surprisingly, he spoke up for Julian Johann. Count Devonsai, it is not very good for you to cling to your wife like that. Zephyrine could not agree in the slightest. But your majesty, he was unacceptably rude. He continued to persuade, I do not see anything rude at all. Did you not already have the first dance with her? The king looked toward the two of them and reasoned, I have heard that your wife has never danced with another man. Let her dance. What is the harm in just one time? He smirked deviously, calculating to himself. Grand Duke Johann is interested in another man's wife? If I use this well, it could become his fatal weakness. And one young lady felt the king had a point. Now that I think about it, she has always stood alone after the first dance. She also avoids talking with other people. Another gentleman agreed. She was never like that before she was married. The count must have kept her on a very tight leash. Hearing this, Zephyrine seethed, but had to swallow his fury. Pointing at Julian Johann, he said, "Fine, but just this one dance." Julian completely ignored him, offering his hand to Rebecca. How ridiculous. I never asked for the Count's opinion. I was only asking this lady. She knew she needed Zephyrines' approval before agreeing, so she glanced back at him, and despite his annoyance, he reluctantly nodded. Rebecca then placed her hand in Julian Johann's. He lifted it, shooting a provocative glance at Zephyrine. "The honor is all mine, my lady." And as they began to dance, he asked her a question. "Can you tell me now? What is this deal you wanted to talk about?" She stated her intention firmly. "I'm going to get a divorce." Rebecca nodded and confidently proposed. "Then, you'll marry me." This only confused Julian Johann more. What is that supposed to mean? She continued to explain. "Soon the temple will start pressuring you. They'll force you to take a wife." Watching Rebecca spin gracefully, Julian Johann grew curious. "Where did you hear that?" She twirled happily, lifting her dress as she replied. "The source of my information isn't important, and it won't affect our contract. I am not asking for your affection." Rebecca took his hand. "I simply want us to be a married couple in name only." She leaned gently into him. A radiant smile slowly spread across his face. "Is that really all you want?" Julian Johann gently placed a hand on Rebecca's waist. "I only want one thing." Then, he lifted her high with both hands, sending her spinning through the air in a circle. The shimmering light from the crystal chandelier shone down, bathing her in a glorious aura. For a moment, the sight left Julian Johann stunned, as if the world around them had frozen. Then, Rebecca stated the final part of her plan. "Give me the power to overthrow the Devansai family," she whispered, leaning close to his ear. "And in return, I will save you." Julian Johann slowly set her down, her heels gently touching the floor, but he still couldn't fully trust her. "How can I believe you?" Rebecca asserted proudly. "You will." She calmly looked up at him, striking right at his weakness. "If you want to save your little sister from the curse." Julian Johann froze. She even knows about Lily? Looking at her determined eyes, he felt she wasn't lying. But who is this woman? As the dance ended, she gave a gentle curtsy. "I don't need your answer right now, but when you make your decision, send Leo to the Count's mansion. My room is in the east wing on the second floor, and I will place a yellow flower in the window. I look forward to your reply," Rebecca said with a gentle smile, which was the last straw for Zephyrine. He furiously stormed over and yanked her away by the wrist. "Rebecca!" he snarled, dragging her off. "Come with me!" Julian Johann was stunned by Zephyrines' actions, unable to believe his eyes. Meanwhile, outside the mansion, he angrily shoved her into the carriage. "We're going home immediately!" Rebecca sadly rubbed her aching wrist. "Yes, I understand," Zephyrine screamed furiously. "You understand? What is there for you to understand? You enjoy getting cozy with other men, don't you?" Then he slammed the door and ordered, "Just stay quietly at home where you belong. You will pay for tonight's humiliation, now go." As Zephyrine watched the carriage clatter away to the gate, unfamiliar footsteps echoed in the silence, and he guessed who it was. He turned and scolded him directly. "You should learn not to covet what already belongs to another man." Julian Johann wasn't offended in the slightest, and calmly reminded him, "She isn't an object, is she? Must she be subjected to your possession?" Uncle Zephyrines' eyes widened in fury as he ground his teeth. "You insolent bastard." He remained calm and continued his provocation. "Is something wrong? Do you want me to treat you like the old man you are? I suppose age is the only thing you have to brag about, so allow me to address you more appropriately, Uncle Count." Hearing this sarcastic tone, he trembled with rage. "You!" And then Leo jumped out from nowhere, dragging another little cat with him, both growling menacingly. The sudden noise made Zephyrine jump, but Julian Johann gently reassured them. "Calm down now, be good boys." He narrowed his cunning eyes and said to them, "But it was really for the other man to hear. He may be a bad guy, but lashing out won't do us any good." Zephyrine flinched, retracting any rash intentions he just had before running off. He didn't forget to threaten, "Don't you even think about approaching Rebecca ever again. She is my wife, my property." Julian Johann watched the distant Zephyrine, still sneezing from his damn cat allergy. Just then, Croa rushed over breathlessly. "Duke, what are you doing here?" Suddenly, his tone became somber. "Croa." The man was bewildered. "Yes?" Stepping closer, Julian Johann slowly announced, "I think I'm getting married." A bit distracted, he replied, "I see, congratulations." Then Croa remembered something and shouted in shock, "What?" He stood under the gentle moonlight and declared, "But the problem is, the bride is already married." Meanwhile, the carriage continued to roll down a gloomy road in the heavy rain. The carriage stopped in the grand courtyard of the Count's estate, and Rebecca returned to her room, changing into more comfortable clothes, and sat on her bed, watching the rain through the window. Alicia felt extremely awkward seeing her sit there so numbly. "My lady." Suddenly, Rebecca's voice made her freeze. "Alicia, you're not chirping away like usual today. Aren't you curious why I came back from the party so early?" She slowly stepped forward and inquired, "Why did you return so early, my lady? Did something happen?" She didn't answer, only letting out a soft, tired laugh. Despite the pitter-patter of the rain outside, Rebecca sighed, "Oh dear." Alicia asked again, suspiciously, "So what did you do?" She answered nonchalantly, "I danced. His Majesty the Emperor personally ordered it." Hearing that, she excitedly wanted to know more. "How was it? Were you thrilled, my lady? I heard the Duke is a wonderful man, isn't he? I wish I could have seen it." Rebecca fell silent, slowly turning her head. But when she saw her gloomy face and shimmering, teary eyes, Alicia faltered, not knowing how to comfort her. "My lady?" From the other side of the door, frantic knocking echoed, along with an impatient voice. "Rebecca! Rebecca!" She knew she'd have to face him eventually. Slowly walking towards the door, "He's finally here. Are you ready?" Alicia was bewildered, and when the door burst open, Zephyrine called out angrily, "Rebecca!" Seeing her kneeling obediently on the floor, he became even more smug. "It seems you know what you did wrong, don't you?" Zephyrine irritably held his hand back for Kana to put on his glove. But that didn't mean they could pretend it never happened. He quickly took the whip in his hand. "I've had to endure so much humiliation." She held Rebecca tightly, who was panicking and trying to break free to stop him. However, Zephyrine's next action made her freeze. He relentlessly whipped Alicia, who had to take responsibility for her failure. Zephyrine continuously swung the whip in the air, and Rebecca rushed to hug his leg, begging, "Master, I'm sorry, Zephyrine. I'll never look at another man again." It was only when she took all the blame that he finally stopped. "It's my fault, please stop." Zephyrine, satisfied, turned back with a mocking smile. "Shouldn't you have done that from the start?" He knelt on one knee and gently wiped away her tears. "You're so beautiful that pests just keep flocking around you." Only when he saw her tear-streaked face and submissive nod did Zephyrine feel satisfied. "From now on, if a man like that tries to cling to you, you'd better reject him outright. Understand, my beloved wife?" Once, Rebecca lowered her head in unconditional submission. He stood up, placed the whip back on the tray, and left. "Since Rebecca was humiliated today, I will be visiting Alicia's room. Treat that maid and bathe Rebecca." She remained kneeling on the floor until the door clicked shut. Rebecca looked up, wiped away her tears, and her previously meek expression vanished. Then, she turned to ask her, "Alicia, does it hurt a lot?" She trembled as she endured the pain. "No, milady. As long as you're safe, I don't mind." Rebecca carefully pulled her into an embrace. "Alicia." Suddenly her tone turned probing. "But why were you smiling?" Alicia, flustered, said, "Huh?" She remembered when Alicia had bowed her head to Zephyrine, when the Count raised his whip, in a place where no one could see. Alicia had smiled with excitement. Rebecca glared, her hands tightening around the maid's neck. "I asked you why you were smiling? Answer me now!" What moment was that? He angrily gritted his teeth as his father asked what he was doing. What could make a man who was never in a hurry rush in so desperately? And when Rebecca arrived here, the only new variable in the mansion was my own actions. And the only one who knows that truth is none other than this trembling person on the verge of death. "Milady, I can't breathe." Alicia remembered walking with another handmaiden. Thinking back, it's strange that I never suspected Alicia before. Zephyrine would have immediately fired or driven away any maid I got even the slightest bit close to. He didn't want me to have anyone on my side. But Alicia was different. She approached me with such a sincere demeanor. "It is my honor to serve you, milady." She was the maid who had been by my side since my very first day at the Count's mansion. All those times Alicia was beaten to the floor, if I had just thought about it more carefully, I would have realized it. The only reason could be that she was one of Zephyrine's people, but my judgment was clouded by how she always risked her life for me. But now, even with those sacrifices, I can't help but wonder what her true purpose was. Just then, Rebecca let go, shoved her aside, and ran away. Alicia continued to pretend she knew nothing at all. She weakly asked, "My lady, what are you talking about?" I stood up resolutely, since she had already lost my trust. She knew very well what Zephyrine would do to her. "I will give you one last chance." Then, Rebecca looked down at her with disgust and said, "Tomorrow morning I will tell Zephyrine to dismiss you, so run away before dawn." After she finished speaking, she lifted Alicia's dazed face, as Alicia slowly clenched her fists. She knew in her heart that she had been found out. What a naive and foolish woman. She doesn't even have the courage to take revenge on her betrayer. "Why aren't you pleased?" I watched as Alicia slowly stood up, her words laced with contempt. "You aren't even going to ask me why." At this point, Rebecca no longer cared, knowing the reason would change nothing. "Just hurry up and run," she replied faintly. "Rebecca, you're always like this." But now, Alicia couldn't hide the bone-deep jealousy in her voice. "You have everything, but you don't know how to enjoy any of it. Do you think anyone chooses to be born into a poor family? I heard your family was nothing special either. You should be grateful that the Count took you in." She furrowed her brow in disbelief, unable to accept it. "Alicia, how can you say that after witnessing everything I've been through?" She ignored that, her fists clenching so tight her knuckles cracked. What you've been through? What could you possibly be unhappy about? He adores you. Remember when he updated your wardrobe? He gave you so much jewelry and so many beautiful dresses. Do you have any idea how many times I've wished I could be you? Alicia was secretly seething with jealousy behind her back. She glared furiously and screamed, "So you can't even stand to lose one lover?" But Rebecca, with the authority of a master, uttered a threat. "Alicia, watch your mouth. I can deal with you right now." She wasn't afraid at all, stepping forward to point right in her face and taunt, "Kill me! You can't kill me! Because you're always the naive and kind countess. Stop being so fake." Just then, Kana burst through the door carrying a water basin. She decisively slammed it into Alicia so hard that it shattered into pieces. From the impact, she was in so much pain she passed out on the floor, and even Rebecca's face turned pale with fright. Kana calmly looked over at her. "Lady Rebecca." Then she spoke coolly, "Your bath is ready." "I am Kana," and I grabbed Alicia by the hair. "I will dispose of this pest." After speaking, she bowed carefully and began dragging her away. The door closed, leaving only a stunned Rebecca standing in the room. Exhausted, she lost all strength and collapsed onto the floor. Rebecca thought to herself wearily, "I gave you a chance until the very end, and now it's all over." She recalled how decisively Kana had taken Alicia away. That maid just now must be one of Zephyrines' servants. I wonder what will happen to Alicia now. She lowered her head and laughed at herself, thinking about how she was still worried for Alicia. Hot tears streamed down onto Rebecca's hands. She cried sorrowfully until her face was wet with tears. "Now I'm truly all alone." Rebecca sat dejectedly before the tightly shut door, in the vast mansion shrouded in darkness, with no one left by her side. As she sat huddled in a corner, how long had she been like this? The servant said the bath was ready, never returned. After a long night of careful thought, Rebecca finally pulled herself up, wiping away a lingering tear from her cheek. Then, she strode toward the wide-open window, where a faint moonlight streamed in. In the dark sky, dark clouds had hidden the moon. Shortly after the clouds drifted away, 3 bright moons emerged again. Standing next to a small flower vase, an idea suddenly sparked in Rebecca's mind. She clenched her fists, realizing one thing. "Rebecca, you will become unbreakable," her expression turning ice cold. "You will become hard enough to shatter stone." Rebecca's eyes grew cold, revealing a ruthless ambition she could no longer hide. "I have nothing left to lose, so I can do anything." In the pouring rain, at a corner of the mansion's grounds, Kana calmly dragged Alicia's body through the estate. Like that, she arrived before a strange building. As soon as she arrived, Kana ruthlessly threw her to the ground, the pain jolting through her body. Woke Alicia up. Who are you?" she demanded, startled. "Where is she? Where is Lady Rebecca?" Annoyed, Alicia clutched the wound on her head and turned to look. "Damn it, what the hell is this?" Seeing the massive statue behind her, she froze. Alicia instantly recognized the place, her face turning pale with fear. "Huh? This place is..." She scrambled to her knees in front of Kana and begged, "I'm sorry, please don't take me to the basement, whatever you want. I'll give you anything, please." Zephyrine and Robert walked in, annoyed. "So damn noisy, make her shut up." She moved swiftly, striking a vital point on the back of Alicia's neck. The sudden move knocked her out cold. Yes, he was quite satisfied with her performance. "Kana, right? You're more useful than I expected. If you keep up the good work, I'll give you everything you deserve. But you know what happens if you cross the line, right?" Understanding, she bowed her head. "Yes," he said with satisfaction. "Looks like Octavio brought a decent dog this time, huh? Good. Starting tomorrow, you'll be Rebecca's maid, not Alicia's." Zephyrine wanted Kana to watch over Rebecca constantly. Her feelings, every gesture, every word, the look in her eyes, everything. "You must report it all to me." She could only bow respectfully and accept, "Yes, I understand." He waved his hand, ordering Robert to take her away. He simply slung the unconscious Alicia over his shoulder, and the 3 of them left through the door, leaving Kana alone. She stood alone in the gloomy building. Through it all, Kana had watched their actions with an emotionless expression. The next morning, Rebecca awoke and slowly sat up. A soft voice suddenly spoke, startling her. "Are you awake?" Kana stood by the bed, perfectly composed. "My name is Kana. I will be serving you from today onward, my lady." Rebecca fell silent, recalling the maid from the previous night. "She's the one from last night. I can't believe they replaced Alicia so quickly." Observing her expressionless face, Rebecca searched her memories. Among all the maids I met in my past life, there was no one named Kana. The two faced each other in silence for a long moment. Has the future changed? Then she began to brush her hair. Through the mirror, Rebecca could see her skills were perfect. Unlike Alicia, who was clumsy in every way, she remained lost in thought. I wonder what happened to her. Did Kana tell Zephyrine that I'd figured out Alicia's identity, or things would get very messy? Suddenly she spoke. "Alicia is dead." Rebecca's eyes widened in shock. while Kana remained focused on brushing her hair. The Baroness didn't know the details of what happened last night, so she still saw her as Lady Rebecca. She suddenly whipped around and grabbed her hand. Rebecca angrily demanded, "What is the meaning of this? Did Jeff Poland ask you to try and win my favor? What a waste of time. You saw what happened to Alicia, so you should know better, shouldn't you? You should run too before it's too late, if you value your life." Kana remained unfazed by her words. Her expression only grew more somber. Suddenly, Kana knelt on one knee, bowing her head to Rebecca, and took out a handkerchief. "This is something I cherish more than my own life." "Yes." Kana carefully presented it to her with both hands. Rebecca took it and examined the handkerchief, and suddenly understood. "This is... could it be?" She joyfully and hurriedly confirmed, "Yes, that's right. This is proof that you, Lady Rebecca, saved my life many years ago in a poor village." That day was a warm, sunny day, but for me, it was colder than ever before. Kana's father dragged her along. "Shut up and follow me." Just like that, Kana was pulled in front of a shop covered in cobwebs. My father was going to sell me to a brothel to pay off his gambling debts. The madam took one look and sneered, "The girl's too skinny." He kept trying to sell me, but her dead mother was quite a beauty, so give her a decent price. She scoffed disdainfully, lowballing him. "This is all I can pay." He was furious. "What did you say?" She looked around in fear. The moment I walked through that door, seeing the women surrounding the men, Kana panicked, her breath caught in her throat, her eyes filled with despair. I felt that if I stepped inside, I would never be able to get out again. She mustered all her courage, broke free from her father's grasp, and bolted for the door. He was enraged, roaring at Kana, "Get back here, you hear me?" Her feet moved swiftly, sprinting down the street. Kana rushed towards the main road, where it was crowded with people. She was overjoyed, thinking she was about to escape that suffocating place. Suddenly, a carriage came rushing forward. The coachman shouted in a panic, "Get out of the way!" Kana couldn't react in time, and she fell to the ground, crying out in pain. While she was still trembling in fear, someone approached, casting a shadow over Kana. "Are you all right?" She was surprised. When Kana looked up, she saw Rebecca's gentle figure, radiant under the sun. Seeing someone so beautiful left her completely stunned. Just then, her father ran up. "Kana, where's that little brat?" Her fearful glance over her shoulder puzzled Rebecca slightly. Then, Rebecca lifted Kana straight up into her arms. She was afraid her filthy state would dirty the lady's elegant dress. "Don't, your dress." However, Rebecca didn't seem to mind at all, smiling gently to comfort her. "Don't worry, it's just a dress." Then Rebecca helped her into the carriage and ordered the coachman, "Take her to the Liberty Relief Camp." As soon as she spoke, the carriage started to move. Inside, Rebecca asked about the man. "That man who was shouting, do you know him?" Kana nervously clutched the hem of her dress and nodded. Rebecca also noticed the bloodstains on her dress. She opened her purse and took out the handkerchief inside, even though I had made this gift for someone else. Then Rebecca carefully bandaged the wound on her palm, and once finished, she gently reassured her. "Even so, it will serve as a temporary fix, won't it?" It had been a long time since Kana had felt such kindness, and shimmering tears began to fall one after another. Rebecca gently wiped away the tears on her face. "The place we are going to now is called the Liberty Relief Camp, and there are only good people there. I promise that the person who was shouting will never come near you again." Kana comfortably pressed her face into her hand. "This is the first time in my life I have felt such a warm touch." Several years later, when she was an adult, although after entering the relief camp, I never saw Lady Rebecca again. I never forgot that touch. No, I could never forget it. With the sole desire to see Lady Rebecca again, I have endured until this very day. Kana always kept the handkerchief, her eyes looking far into the distance. Back in the present, tears fell onto her hand. "I have never once forgotten you, Lady Rebecca." She wept with joy, unable to stop her tears. "I have finally met you again, Lady Rebecca." Kana sincerely expressed her heart. "It is okay, even if you have forgotten me. As long as you can be happy, I will do anything." She was starting to understand everything. I remember now. Back then, Rebecca had proudly offered the handkerchief to him. "Zephyrine, I made this for you," but he had looked down on it. "How horrible! What is this piece of garbage?" Zephyrine then threw the handkerchief onto the floor. She stared blankly at what he did. "So you are the girl who took that handkerchief?" Kana knew it would be difficult for Rebecca to accept it immediately. "I will not ask you to believe me immediately, but I want you to use me." She confidently expressed her loyalty. "If you order me to deal with Zephyrine, I will do it. If you ask me to break the legs of that spy, I will do it. I want to be on your side." Rebecca was somewhat in disbelief. Could that really be true? She recalled Alicia's grating words, "You have everything and do not even know how to appreciate it. Does anyone choose to have poor parents? Will you truly be my ally? You said your family was priceless, right? You should be grateful the Count even took you in." But Rebecca remained silent, her lips pressed into a thin line. Then she stood up, much to Kana's confusion. "Right now, you belong to Zephyrine." She immediately explained, "It is true I came on the Count's orders, but it was only to be by your side, my lady. I would rather die than become his person." "Huh?" Rebecca turned, placing the handkerchief on the table. "No, you have to become Zephyrines' person." Kana was confused. "Huh?" She turned to give a serious order. "If you want to help me, you must earn Zephyrines' trust and become my eyes and ears. If you must, act in my stead." Rebecca casually twirled a soft strand of her hair. "But first, you will have to prove that you are on my side." She pulled out a strand of her hair. "Bring me a lock of Zephyrines' hair, and it is all the better if you cut it messily." She quickly accepted the task. "I will do it. Please leave it to me." And Rebecca, quite satisfied, did not forget to add a warning. "Very well, Kana, do not betray me." Leo appeared outside the door, banging his hand on the window pane and catching the attention of them both. He was wearing a small box around his neck and noticed that she had spotted it. Surprised, Rebecca told Kana, "You can go now." Then she went and opened the window to let Leo jump inside. "Have you been waiting long? You're Leo, right?" He stretched languidly upon entering the room, and that's when she noticed the small box around his neck. The box opened to reveal a small scroll inside, on which was a message from Julian Johann. "First, let's meet and talk." After reading the message, Rebecca let out a rare, happy smile, as the small note also contained a set of instructions. "Come to the Liberty Townhouse this Wednesday at 3 in the afternoon, and please be as discreet as possible, in the shabbiest clothes you can find." Julian Johann, staring at the note from his chair, mused, "Ordering me to come and go as she pleases? What an interesting woman." "Leo, good job." But Leo didn't seem to care, and turned his face away. Seeing this, Julian Johann feigned a worried look and quickly asked, "Are you sulking just because I made you run an errand?" "Leo, I couldn't help it. I can't trust something this important to any other cat." At this, Leo finally spoke, "But that woman. She looks just like the child from back then," which made Julian's eyes widen in shock. "If you mean that child." An image of Rebecca immediately came to mind, her indifferent tone echoing, "Are you all right?" Then, Julian Johann continued, "That's impossible. That was in a remote forest, and you've seen the woman yourself. She doesn't look like she's ever left the capital a day in her life." Hearing this, Leo clarified, "I'm just telling you how I felt. Anyway, she doesn't seem like a bad person." As he finished, Julian Johann's brows furrowed slightly. "If so, that's a relief. But you, will you really be all right? If what that woman says is true and the curse can be broken, then what happens to you?" Hearing this, Leo suddenly lowered his gaze, falling silent for a moment. "It's fine. My life was already thrown away once before." A cold sweat beaded on Julian Johann's face. "Did you really have to say it like that?" But Leo couldn't bear it and declared, "If you're done talking, I'm leaving. I'm hungry." Afterwards, Julian Johann put a palm to his face in frustration. "Then why bother sharing your thoughts? I can never tell. What's going on inside that head of yours? That woman, Rebecca, is the same." She stood right in front of him and bluntly declared, "I want a divorce, so please marry me." At that, Julian Johann found himself breaking into a contemplative smile. "I can't figure out what she's thinking, but such an absurd proposal is quite appealing, especially with the temple constantly contacting me. They'll soon start pressuring me about producing an heir anyway. From the temple's standpoint, Rebecca getting a divorce wouldn't be a major issue. The Devira faith is rather lenient when it comes to marriage. However, cases like the Count publicly taking a second wife are extremely rare. Even after 15 years without a child, Rebecca is still young. Taking a concubine is a blatant act of disrespect towards the first wife. That bastard deserves to be divorced. So a divorce is warranted, and considering what Leo told me last night, it's more than justified. The very idea of tormenting his own wife is already outrageous, but to punish her by taking away the one she loved most. Right in front of me, she must have endured so much worse before this. When I lifted her, she was so light. He must have starved her. If she becomes the Duchess..." Zephyrine sat dazedly on the bed. Then, he cupped water in his hands to wash his face, wiping away the water that streamed down it. He slowly walked forward and stood in front of his full-length mirror. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoed throughout the mansion. 2 guards heard it and rushed in. "My lord Count is..." "My head." Opposite him, the 2 guards could only cover their mouths to hold back their laughter, frozen stiff as statues. Meanwhile, Zephyrine continued to roar. "Who was it? Which bastard did this to me? Bring all the scoundrels who were on watch last night here." A still sleepy Rebecca sat up, noticing the red box on her bedside table. Inside were countless short, blonde strands of hair, and Rebecca's lips curled into a sarcastic smirk. She really wasn't lying when she said there was nothing she couldn't do. She quickly pushed the box under the bed, just as a maid slowly entered the room. Kana asked gently, "Are you awake?" Rebecca immediately praised her. "You did a great job." The other woman replied modestly, "It was nothing, just a simple task." Then, Rebecca proceeded to give her another assignment. You've proven your capabilities well. I'll be going out today, so please prepare an outfit for me. Kana immediately asked, what kind of outfit should I prepare? With a gentle smile, she said, the shabbiest one you can find. At the dining table, the three of them were eating, with Zephyrine concentrating on cutting his food. Suddenly, Alicia spoke up. Give me 8 more. But Zephyrine stopped her. Don't eat anymore. You've gained weight recently. Alicia immediately put on a pitiful expression. My lord, you know pregnant women have to eat for 2, right? Hearing this, Zephyrine reminded her again. Perhaps you don't know since you're a commoner, but nobles do not eat so sloppily, not even the children, Alicia. You should know that I'll cast you aside if you get fat. This left her fuming in silence. Seeing this, Zephyrine glanced at the other person. Behave yourself. Look at Rebecca. She's so elegant. You should learn from her. How many more times must I say this? This is why commoners are. Hearing this, Rebecca quickly dabbed her mouth with a napkin and interjected, Zephyrine, don't be so harsh. Alicia is carrying your first child. After all, why not let her eat a little more? I already feel guilty that we can't have children, so at the very least, I want the child in Alicia's womb to grow up healthy and strong. As soon as she finished, Zephyrine softened. Very well, bring her another half a plate. Meanwhile, Alicia looked resentful. Why is it like this, even though I'm his wife too? But he only listens to Lady Rebecca. I'm not eating anymore. Hearing this, Zephyrine became furious and shouted, Alicia! Rebecca, sitting beside him, quickly tried to mediate. Don't be so angry. They say pregnancy makes women more sensitive. By the way, since your hair is already like this, why not cut it a bit shorter? At her words, a confused Zephyrine asked, Cut my hair? Yes, Rebecca immediately replied, covering her mouth slightly as she continued. Yes, I've been thinking about it for some time, but I think short hair would suit you very well. It would make you look more masculine. I figured as much. Zephyrine quickly touched his hair and said, If you're so insistent, now that you mention it, I suppose it would suit me. A thought immediately crossed Rebecca's mind. Good, then right now. She hugged his arm tightly. Zephyrine, I was planning on going out for a bit today. Would you please allow me? This slightly surprised Zephyrine. Going out? Where to? Then Rebecca replied without fear, To the charity house, sir. I used to go there often, but I've been absent lately. After hearing this, Zephyrine crossed his arms and asked, And is that why you're wearing this drab outfit? Instantly, Rebecca replied without hesitation, Yes, you don't like it? I don't think one needs to dress up for places like that. As soon as she finished, he quickly quipped with sarcasm, Better to look like a beggar than to attract the wrong kind of attention. Very well, go on. Rebecca thanked Lord Jeblin in a gentle tone. Meanwhile, Alicia remained at the dining table, trembling with rage. I knew it. If she's doing something out of the ordinary, it means she wants something. What a cunning witch. Scene change. Julian Johann was sitting on his bed reading a book. I told you I would dress simply. An unadorned outfit is enough. Hearing this, Croa, who was holding a black cloak, responded, Even so, we must still consider the dignity of a duke, must we not? And since when have you obeyed someone else's words so readily? Surrendering so quickly to that woman's threat? Then Julian Johann, still engrossed in his book, warned, Watch your mouth. She is to become the Duchess. In any case, it's better to at least smooth my hair. Then, without another word, he slowly walked away. Seeing this, Croa looked bewildered. Is that Countess truly that beautiful? So beautiful that you're completely smitten over such trivial things? At this, Julian Johann's voice was filled with amusement. Don't tell me you're jealous, Croa. I'm sorry, but my heart already belongs to another. Besides, isn't there quite an age gap between us? As soon as he finished, Croa's face darkened and he shouted, What nonsense are you spouting? I am just a loyal butler, worrying day and night for my naive duke. That woman is incredibly suspicious. She is definitely hiding something. Yet Julian Johann just crossed his arms, strangely calm. It's not a bad arrangement either. Whether it's gathering 10 rumors from storytellers or entering a contract marriage with a suspicious woman, when it comes to trustworthiness, they're one and the same. No, Croa, you know very well that to break this damn curse, I will do anything. Hearing this, Croa finally voiced his anxiety. But what if the Countess is deceiving us? However, Julian Johann simply offered a gentle smile. Then I'll let myself be deceived. I don't trust that woman completely, but she can help me achieve my goal. Frankly, I'm growing tired of all this. I don't understand why you're so worried. Have you forgotten that I am Duke Johann, and while I'm being deceived, you won't just sit idly by. I trust you will find a way to break the curse. I'm right, aren't I, Duke? Then Croa remembered Julian Johann as a teenager. From the first time I met the Duke, he didn't seem like a child at all, not even shedding a single tear at his own mother's funeral. But to me, you're like a fragile piece of glass that could shatter at any moment. Second, Julian Johann shook hands with the red-haired man who was holding an umbrella for him. You are my only ally now, Croa. Immediately their hands clasped together, and on that day, I resolved to stay by his side. This time, I want to break the curse for good, because I want to protect the boy who lost his entire family and couldn't even cry. But how could a stranger know something I've never been able to figure out? How can I possibly believe this? They went back and forth for a while. I will go with you. And why is that? I will be the Duke's edge. Are you saying you're sharper than me, Croa? You're being especially troublesome today. Upon hearing that, Croa put on his outer cloak, looking a bit bewildered. You know it yourself. You always act before you think, which is precisely why I have to go. I'm worried about the Countess. No, about the safety of Lady Rebecca. It's come to this. I have to find out what her true intentions are. At the Liberty Charity House, Rebecca, dressed simply, slowly walked inside. Is everyone doing well? A young woman quickly approached, her face full of gratitude. Thanks to you, Lady Rebecca. We've been doing very well. Lady Rebecca, your guest has arrived and is waiting. Hearing this, Rebecca walked on, observing her surroundings. Elsewhere, Croa peeked out from behind a bush, thinking, so Zephyrine hound has been following me. His name is Robert, right? He's been following me for months now. Meanwhile, Rebecca suddenly covered her mouth with her hand. Kana, meanwhile, was laughing and chatting happily with Croa as the two of them walked away together, leaving Rebecca all alone. She watched their figures fade into the distance. He went along with her way too easily, abandoning his duty. What is he thinking? The young woman from before smiled brightly and led the way. This way, Lady Rebecca. The wooden door opened, and Rebecca bowed. Please forgive me for keeping you waiting. When she lifted her head, Rebecca's face was a mask of shock as she saw the man standing beside Julian Johann Croa. The Liberty Charity House. Before I returned, it was the only place I could find peace. Maybe that's why in my past life, this is where I took refuge when I ran away. And here I met Croa. Because he looked like a vagrant, nobody believed a word he said. Croa sat on the bed, trying to make his case. I used to be the Duke's butler, you know? You're crazy, young man. I was the only one who recognized the matters he spoke of, things that only someone close to the Duke would know. At that time, Julian Johann was bedridden by the curse, and Croa, having wandered everywhere in search of a solution, had been driven to madness. He would occasionally reveal the Duke's household secrets to me. One day, Croa sat on his bed, sighing endlessly. Oh, the poor young Duke, dying so tragically is enough to break anyone's heart. But there was something strange. Croa coughed so hard he spat up blood. I will break the curse. Every time he talked about breaking the curse, he would cough up blood. As he lay dying from a fever, he told me. Croa spoke in a trembling voice. I've found it. The way to save the Duke's family. That way is... Instantly, Rebecca's eyes widened in horror. Back in the present, Rebecca looked at the person across from her with a hint of anxiety. At that time, I was running from Zephyrine, so I really couldn't reveal the truth to the ducal house. And now, I'm using those very same words in this life. Forgive me, but this is the only way I can survive. At this, Julian Johann wondered, do you two know each other, Croa? You didn't reveal the Duke's secrets to Rebecca, did you? However, Croa quickly denied it. Not at all. I swear on my life. Today is the very first time I've ever seen her. Rebecca also quickly added, this is just a misunderstanding. I just thought he seemed like a suitable companion for the position of the Duke's servant. After hearing this, Julian Johann immediately urged Croa to get out of here. The door closed once again, as Rebecca slowly placed a paper on the table. Shall we get to the main topic? About our marriage contract. Across from her, Julian Johann sat with his arms crossed, smiling gently. The contract stated very clearly and completely, Duke Julian Johann will actively support the divorce of Rebecca de Vanchi. Duke Julian Johann must invest a minimum amount in Rebecca's plan to take down the house of Count Devonshire. Both parties are free to have external romantic relationships without requiring the other's consent. On the condition that they are kept secret, the contract will last until Count Zephyrine Devonshire passes away. In addition to Duke Johann, fulfilling all of the above conditions, Rebecca Devonshire must break the curse on the Johann family. After reading, Julian Johann immediately had a question. I have a question, and Rebecca didn't hesitate. Yes, please ask. At this, Julian Johann, still holding the contract, spoke up. Once you finalize the divorce, this will all be over. Why do you also intend to destroy the Count's house and deal with Zephyrine? Immediately, Rebecca answered frankly. You could say it's a personal grudge. I will tell you when the time is right. Seeing this, Julian Johann thought to himself, she doesn't seem to have any ulterior motives. Then, Rebecca explained once more. But I assure you, nothing will happen that could harm you, Your Grace. Just think of it as a type of investment. I will handle everything, so you won't have to do a thing. Across from her, Julian Johann was a bit pensive. Are you telling me I don't have to do anything? As soon as he finished, Rebecca replied, yes, you will not have to get your hands dirty. No, all you need to do is provide me with protection, under the title of Duchess and financial support. Of course, I won't ask for this unconditionally. Whatever you lend me, I will pay it back twofold. After hearing this, Julian Johann couldn't help but glance aside. Am I going crazy? For some reason, I'm actually starting to believe her absurd proposal. Very well, as you said, I have nothing to lose. However, there is something I'd like to amend. This made Rebecca a little curious. What is it? Immediately, Julian Johann pointed at the paper and said, the third clause. The part about not needing the other's permission concerns me. After all, we will be a married couple. If you intend to see someone else, shouldn't you at least have my permission? But Rebecca's eyes went wide as she stared at the man before her. I only added that clause out of consideration for Julian Johann, since this is his first marriage. Could it be that he's actually interested in me? This man, he's probably warmer than the rumors say. You don't need to worry about me. But if that makes you uncomfortable, we can change that clause. Julian Johann lightly scratched the back of his neck. Very well, let's proceed with that change. Even though this is a contract marriage, I have no intention of getting involved with any other woman during this time. I don't want to commit disgusting acts like my father. A moment later, Rebecca presented another document. This was the amended contract. While reading, Julian Johann praised it. Very good, I accept this. Then he slowly rose from the sofa. Rebecca silently watched Julian Johann's retreating back, when the candle flame immediately burned the contract. Yes, seeing that, Rebecca was completely stunned. What are you doing? Meanwhile, Julian Johann remained strangely calm. In any case, neither I nor you have any reason to betray each other, do we? Getting rid of the evidence like this is for the best. I will follow this contract with my life, and if you cherish your own, you won't betray me, right? Will you betray me? His words made Rebecca's face turn pale. She broke out in a cold sweat and affirmed with a forced smile. Of course not. I will also abide by the contract with my life. Instantly, Julian Johann stood with his arms crossed and said coldly, so what do you plan to do next? Count Devonsai is not an easy opponent. As you know, he is the third most powerful person in the empire. As he finished speaking, Rebecca, holding her teacup from her seat, replied, I know that well. Do you know what the pillars supporting Count Devonsai are? The two exchanged words for a moment. What are they? Those people? Which people? Rebecca answered without hesitation. That's right, the Count has a total of 4 pillars. First are the people who manage the estate, and second are the vassals who handle the Count's main business activities. Third are the retainers who specialize in providing information to the Count, and finally, the Knight Legion that protects the Count. The key individuals who make up these pillars are called hounds, and they are not manipulated by loyalty. The Count secured them by knowing their fatal weaknesses, which is why they cannot escape. That is why they follow his orders absolutely, because they fear him. Hearing this, Julian Johann narrowed his eyes slightly. So the solution is to deal with the hounds. What do you intend to do? Tamed hounds will not easily betray their master. However, Rebecca continued, bringing the teacup close to her lips, there is one detail you have overlooked. As I said before, they are the Count's supporters. They are not real hounds. They are human beings just like us. I will remove the shackles that Zephyrine has put on them and break the prison that holds their weaknesses. As she finished speaking, Julian Johann's face showed excitement. Interesting, so what can I do to help you? And Rebecca immediately half closed her eyes, placing her teacup on the table. First of all, I plan to establish a small merchant guild, and it would be great if I had someone capable enough to become the guild master. It won't be that difficult, but it seems even going outside is not easy for you. How do you plan to run the guild? I already have my own plan for that. At this, Julian Johann slowly sat back down in his chair. I understand, so I just need to sit back and fund the cause, right? I have a lot of money with no other purpose for it, so just take as much as you need. Instantly, Rebecca broke into a bright smile. Thank you, sir. In that case, may I ask for one more thing? As soon as the words left her mouth, Julian Johann replied without hesitation. Anything. Hearing this, Rebecca's eyes suddenly sharpened. Do you happen to know about the Devil's Claw plant? The Devil's Claw plant, an inedible plant, is highly toxic, and its leaves can cause a rash with even the slightest touch. However, when it was discovered, the Devil's Claw plant could be used as a dye to create a mystical purple hue never seen before, to the point that its price could be whatever the seller desired. Crossing his legs, Julian Johann spoke up. So you're asking me to get you the Devil's Claw leaves? Unfortunately, that's impossible, unless you cultivate it yourself. Upon hearing this, Rebecca made her request. You just need to provide me with a greenhouse and a laboratory. As long as I have the seeds, I know the perfect person to grow the Devil's Claw plant. Julian Johann looked suspicious. I suspect you're planning to make a dress with it. What's your real purpose? But Rebecca remained perfectly calm. Because I want to marry you sooner, Your Grace. In her past life, the Devil's Claw plant was known as a panacea, thanks to another one of its properties discovered by a botanist. Eating the raw leaves causes blistering and a high fever for a period of time, but it purges all the toxins from the body, even curing some chronic illnesses. And there were even rumors that it could restore the one thing Zephyrine was so obsessed with, youth. Before, Zephyrine had also spent a great deal of money in pursuit of beautiful skin, to buy the raw leaves and force me to eat them, but things are different now. Zephyrine still doesn't know the true use of the devil's claw plant. Rebecca was suddenly lost in thought. Zephyrine loves me for one and only one reason, my beauty. If this beauty fades, he'll have no reason to keep me. Hearing this, Julian Johann was a little surprised. How can she speak about such a matter so casually? At the same time, Rebecca put on a pitiful expression. You don't have to look at me like that. Doesn't everyone live with their own troubles? As soon as she finished speaking, Julian Johann immediately thought to himself, indeed, the more we talk, the more I want to understand her. All right, we're partners now. Let's do a good job of this, Rebecca. These words took Rebecca completely by surprise. After a moment, she also extended her hand to shake his. I look forward to working with you. Scene change. The afternoon sun shone on the entire estate. Zephyrine was already waiting near the door. You're home later than I thought. Hearing this, a cold sweat broke out on Rebecca's face, while he gently stroked his hair. What do you think? I had it cut just as you suggested. But at this moment, Rebecca feigned admiration. Is there even a need to ask? It suits you perfectly, as always. He didn't hesitate to touch her hair. I was thinking about this while you were away. Perhaps I've been neglecting you ever since Alicia came here. I think we can have some private time for ourselves today. The cold sweat wouldn't stop. It fanned out across Rebecca's terrified face as Zephyrine pinned her to the bed, doing something that made her grimace in pain. His eyes gleamed in the darkness, the corners of his mouth lifting in a proud smirk. Back in the present, Zephyrine whispered in her ear, Okay, Rebecca, take off those old clothes, put on something beautiful, and then come to our room. Elsewhere, Ray stood behind her and asked, How does it look? It's absolutely perfect, isn't it? Rebecca slowly parted her lips. She looked at her reflection in the mirror, sarcastically thinking she was ridiculously beautiful. Nothing else happened as night fell upon the grand mansion. The heavy doors were already open, and Rebecca looked up the winding staircase, silently reassuring herself, It'll be okay, Rebecca. I've done this so many times before. From the top of the stairs, Alicia suddenly spoke. Are you on your way to the Count's room? You look absolutely stunning. Hearing this, Rebecca hesitated for a moment. That's right, for that purpose. Is that so? Thank you for thinking so. Her words seemed to strike a nerve with the other woman, causing Alicia's eyes to widen, her whole body stiffening as she stared. After composing herself, Alicia lightly placed a hand on her chest. But you know that will only last for a fleeting moment, don't you? Don't forget that I am much younger than you, Lady Rebecca. Soon enough, I will have all of the Count's attention. Meanwhile, Rebecca's eyes narrowed slightly. So it's now? That's right, you can have all the attention you want, but do you know what? You will never, ever be the official wife. If I were to have a child tonight, your child would forever be second in line, just like you. The moment the words left her mouth, Alicia clenched her jaw in anger, her hands balling into fists as she yelled, You'll regret saying that! Then, Alicia stood facing Rebecca and screamed at the top of her lungs. Lady Rebecca, please don't do this! At that moment, Alicia's face was filled with cunning. She quickly took a few steps back, and then Alicia threw herself down the stairs, while Rebecca simply watched with a faint, gentle smile. Without a second thought, she rushed forward to catch the other woman, pulling Alicia into her arms. Her entire body was covered in red streaks of blood and countless scrapes, but Rebecca coldly reminded her, You should be more careful. That little secret in your belly is the only asset you have. Just then, two maids rushed in from outside, screaming, My lady! A moment later, Rebecca slowly sat up, holding a hand to her aching face. At the same time, Zephyrine slowly descended the stairs, asking, What's with all this noise? What happened here? The sight before him made him gasp in horror. Zephyrine stared at the woman covered in injuries and cried out, Rebecca! What happened to your face? If there's even a single scratch on Rebecca's face, you will all pay with your lives. As he spoke, a still trembling Rebecca pleaded, Zephyrine, Alicia did nothing wrong, so please, spare her. Zephyrine kept calling her name, Rebecca. At that moment, Cana ran up from behind, her brow furrowed, and said, My lord, please take her ladyship to her room and call for a doctor at once. Hearing this, Zephyrine agreed without a second thought. That's right, call a doctor immediately. Meanwhile, Cana gently carried the other woman to her room, leaving Zephyrine silently behind. He could only stare straight ahead, and after a moment, he finally started to speak to Alicia. Countess Alicia, Zephyrine looked back with hateful eyes. How dare you do such a thing without knowing your place? As soon as he finished speaking, Alicia trembled in terror. No, it was just an accident. However, Zephyrine seemed unwilling to hear an explanation, take her out to the Hall of Light. Elsewhere, the sky had brightened, starting a new day. Cana chided Rebecca as she bandaged her leg. Did you really have to go that far? But Rebecca was completely unfazed. Compared to what I've gained, this is nothing at all. I got injured, But thanks to that, I was able to avoid being near Zephyrine for 2 months. It was the memory from my past life that rushed back and helped me. In my previous life, Alicia had fallen down the stairs in the exact same way. And back then, blinded by jealousy, I falsely accused her of pushing me. I never expected she would do the same thing in this life. Rebecca, with several bandages on her face, asked with some curiosity, "So what happened to Alicia?" Kana quickly replied, "We've been keeping an eye on her. The Count was furious, so much so that only Robert is left here now." Hearing this, Rebecca immediately praised her. "Excellent. By the way, what about the guest I requested?" Kana replied without hesitation, holding a tray for changing bandages. "Yes, I sent the message, and they said they would arrive today." At this, Rebecca looked up at her. "Did Zephyrine say anything?" Kana once again replied in a gentle tone. "On the contrary, he said it was a good thing, and he told me to call for them often during this time. He said he was worried something might happen to Lady Rebecca if she suffered psychological shock from this accident. But as Rebecca was speaking, it's not like him to worry about my mental state." Just then, a woman suddenly burst in through the door. Lady Obelia, with a worried expression, asked Rebecca, "What happened to you, dear?" Rebecca, however, remained as calm as ever. "Yes, mother, you're here?" Lady Obelia sat down and inquired, "I heard that girl named Alicia pushed you?" Rebecca quickly clarified, "No, it was just an accident. I was trying to save her from falling." As soon as she finished, her mother placed a hand on her forehead sorrowfully and lamented, "You're far too kind. What am I to do? I'm so worried about you." Across from her, Rebecca fell silent upon seeing this, a person who made her mother worry so much, yet my mother never called even once. I know I was helpless, but that doesn't mean I didn't resent her. That night, the documents I saw in the study contained records of the enormous sum of money they had received as a condition for my marriage to Zephyrine Devonside. Above all, my mother's words on my wedding day, Lady Obelia spoke with trembling hands. To her daughter, Rebecca, "You must never bear a child for the Count. The moment you have a baby, you will be tied down, and even if you do give birth, don't grow too attached." My mother knew everything back then. Back in the present, she placed both hands on her billowing skirt and called out, "Rebecca, I had a bad feeling from the very first time I saw Zephyrine." An image of him lifting his teacup, calmly proposing as he drank, "I will marry Rebecca." From the very beginning, the families of Count Devonside and Viscount Obelia were not of the same status, believing such a marriage would surely be an unhappy one. I refused, however, when the investment my father poured our entire fortune into failed. We were pushed to the brink of bankruptcy. Right then, as if he had predicted this situation, Zephyrine appeared with an enormous sum of money. He placed his hand on the contract and said, "It doesn't matter if there's no dowry. Are you going to oppose this marriage again?" Instantly, Lady Obelia, sitting next to her husband, was in an incredibly difficult position. This time I couldn't refuse, especially since Rebecca said she liked Zephyrine. I kept telling myself that everything would be fine, but to think that my selfishness has caused her to wither away like this. Returning to the present, she touched the back of Rebecca's hand. "I have no excuse, Rebecca. Let's run away. We can go somewhere and live as farmers. Wouldn't that be better than this life?" Meanwhile, Rebecca just silently looked at the person before her, lowering her head. "Mother, can you really leave behind everything you've enjoyed until now? You might be able to, but what about father and my younger siblings? Can you force our entire family to make sacrifices just for me?" Instantly, Lady Obelia called out sorrowfully, "Becky." A happy family scene suddenly flooded into her memories. Becky, at the same time, Rebecca's eyes had long been welling up with tears. Seeing this, Kana quietly brought her a handkerchief. Nearby, Lady Obelia was completely stunned. "How long has she been there?" At this, Rebecca slowly explained, "Don't worry, Kana is my person. Running away won't solve anything. I have to build a solid foundation first, then leave on my own terms. Mother, let's escape from the cruel shadow of this Devonside house together." This left Lady Obelia momentarily confused. "Escape? How do you plan to do that?" "Yes," Rebecca replied frankly. "I'm going to get a divorce." Her words made the other woman freeze. A divorce? Rebecca, however, calmly laid out her plan. "Yes, and I will remarry Duke Johann." However, Lady Obelia couldn't believe her ears. "Duke Johann? What nonsense are you talking about?" But Rebecca gently instructed, "For now, only you should know. Father absolutely must not find out." Across from her, Lady Obelia looked at her daughter thoughtfully. Whenever Rebecca had that expression, she always accomplished whatever she set her mind to. She was serious. "Yes, all right, what do you need me to do?" Then Rebecca quickly made a proposal. "Mother, would you like to start a business?" Night fell upon the mansion once again. Kana stood to the side, wondering, "Do you feel stuffy, my lady?" Instantly, Rebecca closed her eyes halfway and smiled faintly. "A little. Just lying in bed feels suffocating." Hearing her question, "Then would you like to go for a walk?" Rebecca once again intended to refuse. "But I can't walk, and even if I could, Zephyrine would never let me go outside." but Kana said in a warm tone, "If that's the problem." Without another word, she lifted Rebecca into her arms. The situation left Rebecca a bit dazed. "Kana?" But Kana said confidently, "The hounds don't usually patrol at this hour. I've confirmed that no one else is nearby." Her firm footsteps stepped onto the windowsill. Kana, holding Rebecca, leaped down below. A moment later, they both landed on the ground, the surrounding area still quiet and empty. Then Kana asked coolly, "Where would you like to go, my lady?" "From now on, I will be your legs, Lady Rebecca." At the same time, Rebecca's cheeks wouldn't stop blushing. She turned away and replied, "Then let's head toward the lilac garden over there." The two of them slowly walked toward the fountain. They exchanged words for a moment. "Kana, why aren't you asking anything? What are you referring to?" Rebecca rested her head on Kana, continuing, "About my conversation with my mother today." Upon hearing that, Kana quickly expressed her view. "Because I trust you, Lady Rebecca. No matter what choice you make, even if you were to ask me to follow you into hell, I have sworn that I will follow you, Lady Rebecca." At these words, Rebecca's eyes widened as she looked lovingly at Kana, while the maid continued to gently embrace her. After a moment, Kana looked at the bench in front of them and said, "Let's rest here for a bit." She gently helped Rebecca sit down. Suddenly, a faint sound came from behind Kana. She immediately called out in alarm, "Someone's here, Lady Rebecca!" A booted foot slowly approached. Robert, draped in a black cloak, drew near. "Good evening, my lady." Instantly, Rebecca recognized Robert Crowley. "What brings you here?" But then she abruptly asked him, "Were you eavesdropping?" Robert laughed out loud. "Eavesdropping? Not at all. It was just a coincidence. The moon is so bright tonight that I decided to take a walk." Rebecca looked at Robert with sincere eyes. Such a loyal servant, still working even at this late hour. Robert was starting to lose his patience. He snapped, "I was just walking around the garden. This isn't work. It's just a break." Rebecca's expression turned serious. She got straight to the point. "Crowley, I'm no fool. I know perfectly well that every servant in this mansion is spying on me. Don't be alarmed. I don't mean to blame you. You're just doing the job you were assigned," Robert hesitantly asked Rebecca. And yet, Rebecca knew her goal was within reach. Her eyes curved into a smile. "Since we're already at this point, why don't we gaze at the moon together?" "I've always wanted to talk with you, Crowley." Robert lowered his head, seemingly uncomfortable with how Rebecca addressed him. "Please call me Robert." Rebecca pretended she didn't know the reason why. "Don't you like your family name?" Robert mumbled. "It's not that." Rebecca frowned. She asked with a sympathetic voice, "The ties of blood are cruel, aren't they?" Robert hated being called by his family's name, yet still became their hound. Robert immediately stepped back, asking Rebecca warily, "What exactly do you know?" Rebecca replied nonchalantly, "Not much, just that you hail from the ancient Kadia faith, and that your family is in the hands of Zeppelin. And one last thing, I will save you, Robert Crowley. Before I returned, he was accused of having feelings for me and was sentenced to death. On the day of his funeral, Robert's family appeared, and on their foreheads, the eyes of an owl glowed. It was the mark proving they were all followers of the Kadia faith. The scar on Robert's forehead, it must be used to hide a tattoo. I remember what Father once told me about the long history of oppression the Kadia faith had to endure. In an empire ruled by the Debrian Church, the eyes of the owl can no longer be displayed publicly, Robert, because at some point the eyes of the owl became a symbol of misfortune, the tattoo. That must have been the weakness they used against Robert. To him, it seemed that what Rebecca said was the most ridiculous joke. "You're going to save me?" "Lady Rebecca!" Kana immediately stepped in front of her and growled, "Stop looking at my lady with those eyes of yours. Avert them before I take them myself." Seeing how tense she was, Rebecca reassured her, "It's all right, Kana. Do I seem trustworthy now? More importantly, could you bring me some paper and a pen?" A moment later, after receiving the paper and pen, she immediately wrote a line on it and handed it to Robert. He asked in confusion, "What is this?" But Rebecca kept her hand outstretched in midair. "It's what you're looking for. A clue to where your family is. And if you wish, I will give you the means to protect them." Robert wanted to refuse Rebecca's help. "You think I would believe that? If you're trying to threaten me, the Count has already done more than enough. Don't try to imitate him so clumsily." However, Kana, who was beside Rebecca, was not as gentle as her mistress. "Just take it, Robert. You know as well as I do that you can't keep refusing or doubting forever." He took the clue. But Robert still felt that something was off. "You're giving me this information first, despite the risk that I might betray you?" Rebecca replied with a smile. "Because I trust you, Robert. You are one of the Kadia, are you not? From what I know, followers of the Kadia faith do not lie or betray." Robert immediately pointed to the scar on his forehead. "Lady Rebecca, you shouldn't trust people so easily. Do you see this scar? When I was 15 years old, I carved the tattoo from my skin, right in front of my father, as proof that I had abandoned my faith and my family. I no longer believe in Kadia." After hearing him, Rebecca nodded. "It's not just because of its teachings. I know you have been secretly helping me all this time, Robert. Even if you betray me, it doesn't matter. I will consider this information as repayment for the kindness you have shown me. But tell me, are you truly okay with this? Can you stand to see Count Devon, the man who treated you so cruelly, live a happy life? Robert, I could never. Take your revenge. Annihilate him completely. Let's return every ounce of pain that we have suffered. The words that Rebecca had just spoken dealt a powerful blow to Robert's soul after all these years. I've been living trapped in a deep pit, without a single ray of light. I believed there was no way to escape from that wretched Count. And now, revenge on him? After a moment of hesitant contemplation, Robert made his decision. He suddenly knelt to the ground. Robert took Rebecca's slender hand and placed an honorable kiss upon it. Robert spoke with a firm and resolute voice. Robert Crowley, I pledge my loyalty to you. Tell me, what should I do first? Rebecca said, bring me information on the hounds. Robert quickly accepted his orders. Leave it to me. After everything was settled, Kana carried Rebecca back to her room. Early the next morning, sure enough, the information about the hounds was in Rebecca's hands. Rebecca was quite surprised. Robert, you're incredible. To think you could gather it all so quickly. I have such detailed information on the hounds, but the one piece of knowledge I want most is still missing. Mrs. Gray Duncan, the head maid, has served the Devonsai family since the previous Count's time, and her loyalty is to them, not Zephyrine. She knows more of the mansion's secrets than Zephyrine herself, and holds the keys to every room. That makes her the first person I must target. But her loyalty... Gray belongs completely to the Devonsai family. She's different from the other hounds. Zephyrine has no power over her, and she lost her family a long time ago, yet she remains steadfastly loyal to the Devonsai family. To get my revenge, I have to find a way to win over Gray Duncan. Yes, Rebecca thought to herself, but it won't be easy. She won't give in that easily. Kana, I've memorized all of these documents, so go destroy them immediately. Kana took the documents and replied, yes, Lady Rebecca. Then Rebecca suddenly remembered someone, by the way. Where is Zephyrine right now? Kana answered. The Countess left early this morning for a conference. Rebecca's spirits lifted. Perfect! Then Zephyrine won't be back until late this afternoon. First, we'll have to go out for a bit. Down in the mansion's courtyard, Mrs. Gray was shouting at her servants. Can't any of you do your jobs properly? None of them have any skill. Suddenly, Mrs. Gray stopped short in her tracks. It seemed she had seen something suspicious. Mrs. Gray thought to herself, has she already left? If she's going that way, she'll reach the living quarters for the male servants. An image of Kana, panting from her usual heavy chores, appeared in Mrs. Gray's mind. Mrs. Gray's face hardened, but she's not the type to act carelessly, so it should be fine. Thinking of something, Mrs. Gray suddenly looked up. She saw Rebecca's back near the window frame. It was Rebecca moving, and Mrs. Gray saw it all clearly. However, she had no intention of exposing Rebecca just yet. Elsewhere, behind the deserted garden, Robert's voice rang out. This way. Here, this is the item you requested. Rebecca smiled and said, thank you for finding me such a good one. Robert stared blankly at the outfit Rebecca was wearing. That outfit. Rebecca burst out laughing at Robert's reaction. What do you think, does it suit me? It's much more comfortable than wearing a dress. Robert didn't answer, changing the subject instead. Please come back as soon as you can. The Countess might be in the capital until late tonight, but you never know what might happen. Rebecca nodded. Got it. Robert, protect Kana for me. Robert had told her that as far as anyone was concerned, she'd been in bed this whole time, so no one would suspect a thing. In that case, I will wait here at the appointed time. But things might not go according to plan, so avoid being seen by the head maid or any of the hounds. Rebecca gave a relaxed smile and replied, all right, thanks. Robert, you're always so thorough. He had found a carriage for Rebecca. Sitting in the carriage and looking outside, Rebecca thought to herself, it's been so long since I've felt this free. I used to think I'd never be able to escape Devonsai, but now that I'm out, it feels like this world is so small. A little while later, the carriage stopped. Hey there, young lady, we've arrived, Rebecca said politely. Thank you for the ride. May I ask your name, sir? The coachman smiled and replied, my name is Adob. I have a coffee bean shop in the central square. You should stop by sometime. I'll treat you to a cup of coffee. Rebecca smiled and replied, yes, thank you. When she arrived at her destination, Rebecca was immediately stunned by the sign on the door. Do not disturb. If you dare to bother me, I can't guarantee what will happen. Something truly horrifying will. The already gloomy house now seemed even more sinister. Rebecca thought to herself, ha, what an ominous warning. The future Ernest Stapp McQueen is the botanist who will discover the uses of the devil's claw plant and is an eccentric who isolated himself while doing research. Zephyrine tried everything to recruit him, but since there were no weaknesses to exploit, he failed. Rebecca took a chance, shouting Ernest Stapp's name while banging loudly on the door. Sir McQueen! There was no answer. Rebecca continued her task of being a nuisance. Mr. McQueen, oh, Mr. McQueen. As expected, brute force always helps solve problems quickly, but it's not the best way. E-Step opened the door and yelled, "Didn't you see the sign right in front of you? Stop bothering me. Go somewhere else." Ugh. An unpleasant smell emanated from Ernest Stapp, making Rebecca instinctively cover her nose. It smells like tobacco. Rebecca looked up and saw a long pipe, with smoke still wafting from it. She quickly smiled and said, "Hello, Sir Ernest Stapp. I've come with a proposal." Sir Ernest Stapp was a bit surprised. "A proposal? Are you another one of that Count's lackeys?" "I've said it before. I won't let the nobles use me for their own selfish interests. Right now, they're trying to trick me by promising me freedom for my research, but in the end, they'll just change everything to their liking. I know how this goes. Get out now." The door slammed shut, but Rebecca wasn't about to be deterred. "Then I guess you don't want the gift I brought? Fresh spring potatoes, just dug up, and they're from Monterey, no less." A second later, the door flew open, and Ernest Stapp appeared with a pained expression. "Well, are you coming in or not?" Of course, no one would refuse an invitation traded for a bag of fragrant potatoes. Ernest Stapp's room was filled with the scent of herbs and plants. However, Ernest Stapp was extremely pleased with Rebecca's gift. "You brought some truly high-quality potatoes. Impressive. These days, they've been so overbred and modified that they've lost their true flavor." Rebecca didn't answer Ernest Stapp, though. She was busy with something else. Rebecca was memorizing the titles of the books on the coffee table. An encyclopedia of all dyes in the world, plants named after demons, and everything about the Devil's Claw plant. "Looks like I came at just the right time." "So," Ernest Stapp asked Rebecca, "what's the proposal you mentioned?" Rebecca didn't answer immediately. "You must be very interested in the Devil's Claw plant." Ernest Stapp was quite surprised. "Oh? You realize that just from these books? Are you interested in plants too?" And Rebecca put the book down on the table and said, "I wouldn't say I'm completely uninterested. After all, it's a shame to see such precious plants being neglected like this. Look, these spots might mean the temperature isn't suitable." But Ernest Stapp was a bit offended. "So he's changed his approach, has he? Sending an expert to criticize me?" Rebecca quickly explained. "I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I have no connection whatsoever to the Count you just mentioned." Ernest Stapp asked her, "Then who are you, someone of noble lineage?" Rebecca smiled and replied, "Perhaps very noble, or perhaps not at all." Ernest Stapp frowned. "What is that supposed to mean?" Rebecca burst out laughing. "Either way, does it really matter? You should be more curious about what I can offer you." I saw Ernest Stapp rest his chin on his hand and say boredly, "No one can give me what I want." Rebecca replied confidently, "I'll start by building you a large greenhouse." Ernest Stapp scoffed. "Humph, a bunch of people have already offered me that." Rebecca retorted, "No, but what if I said I'd build it in Montpelier? Would that still be the same as the others?" Ernest Stapp was stunned for a moment. "In Montpelier?" Rebecca smiled brightly. "So what do you say? Are you more willing to talk now?" Montpelier, a famous port city, owned by Duke Julian Johann, the central hub where the field of global transport operates the fastest, and a blessed land, rich and prosperous for botanists like Ernest Stapp. This place is truly a dreamland, but the land here is so expensive that an ordinary researcher could never afford to go there. Rebecca used an incredibly confident tone to negotiate with Ernest Stapp. "I don't care what kind of research you conduct, just do as you please." But Ernest Stapp found it a bit hard to believe. "You're willing to go that far for me? What exactly are the conditions?" Rebecca suddenly cleared her throat and said, "I'm so thirsty. Could I have a cup of tea first?" Ernest Stapp was startled. He quickly ran out. "Ah, I've been such a poor host to a guest. Please wait a moment." And Rebecca took that opportunity to walk around Ernest Stapp's room. She flipped through his notebook. Rebecca seemed to have made a new discovery. "I have observed that when the dried leaves of the Devil's Claw plant are soaked in poisoned water, it boils and purifies the water. Based on the above results, if a person ingests this plant..." "Yes," Rebecca thought to herself. "So you had already discovered the effects of the Devil's Claw plant." "Long ago, but it seems you still haven't solved it." A moment later, Ernest Stapp returned with a cup of tea. "Here, please. It's a refreshing herbal tea." "All right." Rebecca took it, "Thank you." "You need a test subject, don't you?" The tea in Ernest Stapp's mouth was spat right out. "How? How did you know?" Rebecca smiled and replied, "I read through your notes while you were away." "Ah, please forgive my rudeness. I only looked because they were open." "The hypotheses you've proposed are very compelling. They are theories that my master would certainly be very interested in." "You asked about the conditions? It's simple. Research the Devil's Claw plant under my master's orders. I will provide you with test subjects and Devil's Claw plant seeds." Ernest Stapp turned his head away dejectedly. "I don't want to." Rebecca asked why. Ernest Stapp said slowly, "If I succeed in the research, won't all the fame go to them? I've seen countless colleagues get thrown away like that." And Rebecca laughed and said, "Ah, don't worry about that. My master's reputation is already very high. Such trivial honors don't interest them." Ernest Stapp slammed the table and stood up. Trivial honors? When Rebecca tilted her head to look at Ernest Stapp, it was bound to cause a huge stir. After all, his discovery was practically a panacea. And for him to discover something like that was incredible. Ernest Stapp realized Rebecca was no simple woman. Does she recognize the value in my hypothesis? Until now, the academic world has only ever called me a lunatic, a madman. And yet you're offering to provide me with a test subject? Your master isn't involved in anything illegal, is he? I intend to climb to the very top, so I can't risk anything illegal. Here, Rebecca took a necklace from her pocket. Is this enough to answer your question? Ernest Stapp took the necklace in his trembling hand. Is this Duke Julian Johann's sovereign seal? Where should I sign? Meanwhile, Lady Obelia had gone to see Julian Johann. Following her daughter's instructions, she thought worriedly, he's even more imposing than the rumors say. Is it really true that Rebecca will remarry Duke Julian Johann? As soon as she entered, Lady Obelia saw Julian Johann. Welcome, Lady Obelia. It's an honor to meet you. I am Julian Johann. Rebecca has already explained the general situation to me, that her mother would be managing the new business. Lady Obelia was a bit nervous. That is correct, but I'm not sure if I can do it well. Julian Johann said with a smile. If it's her mother, I'm sure you can do it. You've been leading the Obelia Viscounty all this time. After all. Since you are Rebecca's mother, that makes you my mother as well. Please speak comfortably. Julian Johann's casual yet sincere smile made Lady Obelia a bit flustered. Thank you for saying so. Then, Julian Johann suddenly recalled the words Rebecca had spoken to him before. Why do you need to run a business? If there's a debt, I can easily pay it off. Rebecca lowered her head wearily. Paying off the debt is just a temporary solution. My father might ask the Duke for other favors again. I intend to put my mother in charge. To do that, she needs financial power. My mother has protected the Obelia Viscounty with limited resources. Without her, the Obelia Viscounty would have collapsed long ago, before the divorce. I need to eliminate all the threats that Zephyrine could use against me. My birth family and the Liberty Charity House. First, I will take my family back from his control. Julian Johann said to Lady Obelia, by the way, could you explain this business in detail? She told me to hear the details directly from my mother. Lady Obelia quickly replied, then let me explain. It's a type of rental salon. As you know, all the noble women in the empire have a salon at home. Julian Johann nodded. That's right. They are the mistresses of those places, but it's also a huge burden. They have to decorate their homes according to the latest trends, all year round, and servants might spread private matters concerning their husbands, so those women can't speak freely. Lady Obelia smiled. That is why this place is for rent. The entire set of rooms and the garden will be customized to the client's wishes. The clients will only have to pay a small fee, and their husbands won't be able to eavesdrop on their secrets. Julian Johann thought for a moment and then asked, but doesn't this mean they can't decorate it themselves? Nobles despise anything ready-made. When this is published, will they really like them? Mrs. Obelia confidently said that they would. Julian Johann was a little surprised. How could she be so sure? Mrs. Obelia looked just like her daughter in that moment, because that's how I want it to be. Not all nobles have an excess of time and money, and we will also create private beauty salons for our esteemed guests. Isn't that enough? So, after chatting with Mrs. Obelia for a while, Julian Johann smiled as he realized something. Just as Rebecca had said, she was truly fit to be the head of the family. Then let's proceed with this business plan and start from here. Mrs. Obelia suddenly remembered something. Oh, by the way, what was it about Rebecca that attracted you? That sudden question made Julian Johann think very carefully. What about her attracted me? Julian Johann suddenly remembered Rebecca saying, you want to save your sister from that curse. At that moment, she was what truly attracted him. Julian Johann answered honestly, because she was very impressive. Mrs. Obelia didn't expect him to say that. Impressive? Julian Johann smiled. That's right. Compared to all the women I've ever met, Rebecca has the most deeply impressive eyes. At dusk, as the sun was about to set, Rebecca finally returned. Where's Zephyrine? Robert replied. The Count hasn't returned yet. Please don't do anything too reckless. Rebecca took the clothes from Robert. I can't help it. He has too much influence to trust anyone else. Robert urged Rebecca. Anyway, change quickly and come back. Dinner is about to be served. Rebecca looked at Robert with a puzzled expression. What are those flowers for? Robert answered carefully, just in case something happens. Rebecca looked around as she walked. Good, everyone is busy preparing dinner. If things keep going like this, everything will be fine. But 2 seconds later, Mrs. Gray appeared. Robert, who is that child? Mrs. Gray's question frightened Rebecca. Robert quickly said, I'm bringing tea to the ladies' room. Mrs. Gray looked up. She noticed Rebecca's tea-holding arm was trembling. However, Mrs. Gray didn't make a big deal out of it. Understood, we mustn't keep the lady waiting. Oh, wait a moment. Rebecca froze for a second. Mrs. Gray instructed Rebecca, when you go up, Tell the lady that Miss Fabiola will be visiting tomorrow." In Rebecca's mind, her mother-in-law was nothing short of a demon. "Rebecca, you truly have no manners at all." And Rebecca hated her to the very bone. Fabiola Devansai, an obedient wife to her husband and a gentle mother, who loved her son, and at the same time, was the terrible mother-in-law who constantly tormented me. After I married Zephyrine, she became jealous and hated me for stealing her son's attention. One time, Mrs. Fabiola intentionally dropped a piece of cake on the floor, and then she pretended it was an accident. Oh my. The cake fell on the floor. She baked this cake herself, you know, so it would be a waste to throw it away. "What are you doing? Lick up the spot where you dropped it." At that moment, Rebecca's face hardened. She constantly tormented me, pushing me to my breaking point. But there are no secrets in this mansion, and when Lynn discovered Fabiola's crimes, he banished her far away. However, Fabiola never gave up, and would often show up at the mansion unannounced, just like today. Zephyrine voice rang out. "So, how is it? Comfortable, right? It's the only custom-made wheelchair in the entire empire. You like going for walks, don't you? The doctor said it's not good to lie down for too long, Rebecca." Looking down at the chain beneath the wheelchair, of course, the path is just long enough to circle the garden. A servant ran in to report, "Madam Countess, Fabiola has arrived." Zephyrine clicked her tongue in annoyance. "What a pain, Rebecca. Let's head inside now. Just let Alicia deal with that woman." "Okay," Rebecca replied with a smile. "It's fine. After receiving such a wonderful gift, I must fulfill my duties as a wife. I'll go meet my mother-in-law." Kana was in charge of taking Rebecca, and she watched the conversation between Fabiola and the new daughter-in-law. She was at it again, tearing into someone. "The tea is no longer warm. Can you pour another cup?" Alicia obediently complied. "Yes, mother." Fabiola frowned. "Now this one is too hot." Alicia stood up to the astonishment of the maid and Fabiola. "Is that so?" She walked over and slapped the maid beside her sharply across the face. Fabiola flew into a rage. What is the meaning of this?" Alicia didn't back down either. "Mother, you complain that the water is too hot, then too cold. You even complained about the aroma of the tea. So isn't the fault with the servant who brought them?" Fabiola pointed a finger at Alicia and screamed. "Just as I'd expect from someone of lowly birth, your actions are equally vulgar." "Yes," Alicia shot back. "That's right. And what of your noble lineage? So noble that your precious son can't even be bothered to greet you." Rebecca thought to herself, "She's just like she was before, trying to break my spirit so I couldn't convince her son to abandon her." Fabiola cried out in fury, "How can you be so completely uncivilized?" Yes, Rebecca realized the only thing that had changed was the target. "Hello, mother." Rebecca arrived just in time. Fabiola quickly rushed over. "Oh my goodness. Rebecca, I heard you were injured. It seems it was true." Rebecca replied, "Yes, but I am all right. It is just a minor injury. By the way, what is going on here? I heard arguing a moment ago." Fabiola said awkwardly, "Oh, it is nothing. I was just teaching her a bit of etiquette." Rebecca looked at Alicia. "Is that so, Alicia? You should be careful around my mother-in-law, since she is our husband's mother after all." Alicia was a little surprised. Why is she taking that woman's side? The three of them quickly had tea together as Rebecca sipped from her cup. She was startled when she realized something. This flavor. Rebecca glanced at Fabiola, then she looked at Alicia beside her. Rebecca yanked the tablecloth hard, causing the tea to shake and spill all over Alicia's dress, making her scream in terror. Rebecca said in a shocked voice, "Oh my goodness, Alicia, I am so sorry." Alicia's eyes bulged. "Rebecca, you did that on purpose, didn't you?" Rebecca quickly said, "Why would I ever do something like that? In any case, I hear burns can leave scars for a very long time. You should go get that treated." Alicia didn't dare to stay any longer. She screamed as she ran. "Ah! Hurry up! Prepare the medicine." Rebecca's actions made Fabiola uncomfortable, so Rebecca immediately pretended to be afraid. It was just as her mother predicted. Fabiola asked Rebecca what she meant. "What prediction?" Rebecca shot back, then immediately answered. "I found Alicia so annoying I spilled tea on her." Lady Fabiola was startled. "Are you saying you are jealous?" "Yes," Rebecca admitted. "Yes? Alicia is more beautiful than me, and she even has a child. What am I supposed to do if Zephyrine loves Alicia more?" Lady Fabiola was skeptical. "She used to just endure everything. What has gotten into her now? No matter how much I tormented her, she never showed a single emotion. I guess she is a woman after all, so it is only natural for her to get angry about her husband taking another woman." "Do not worry, you are the one and only official countess." Rebecca smiled. "I feel a bit more at ease after hearing you say that, mother. By the way, what kind of tea is this? I feel so relaxed after drinking it." "Did you bring this, mother?" Lady Fabiola sneered and replied, "That is right. This is a special tea I brewed with my own hands. If you like it, I will give you some. I have plenty." Thank you for watching today's video. Our story continues with many more exciting developments ahead. So do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us. And do not miss the latest chapters. We hope you have a relaxing and enjoyable time. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.